Leo, who had just grabbed a mop from a waiter, overheard the comment as he walked over. He paused mid-swipe. Sophia smiled and replied, "Of course, but it's a bit greasy in here. How about we go for a walk later? We can see if there's anything you like." Turning to Chloe, she added, "Everything's from the mall next door, so it's close." Leo went back to mopping the floor. A good citizen cleans up his own mess. Chloe's face lit up. She hadn't been shopping in ages. Okay. After agreeing, she looked back at Leo. "Hey, you want to come?" Shopping with one girl was exhausting enough. With two, forget it. His hands would be reduced to mere luggage racks. Bad deal. He shot Chloe an annoyed look. "Do I not have a name?" he grumbled. "Try again." "Nicely." Chloe's eyes curved into crescent moons, her dimples appearing on either side of her grin. "Leo, would you like to go shopping with us later?" "Nope." Chloe felt like he'd played her yet again. She puffed out her cheeks and glared at him. But Leo acted as if he hadn't noticed. After returning the mop, he casually said to the waiter, "Check, please." Waitstaff always moved at the speed of light when it was time to collect money. A moment later, the waiter was back with the bill, handing it to Leo for confirmation. 3 people, almost $200. Damn, that was steep. Leo barely glanced at it before pointing a thumb at Sophia, much to the waiter's surprise. "I'm broke," he announced. "Money stuff, talk to the pretty lady over there." Sophia was used to Leo's particular brand of shamelessness. She simply took out her wallet and paid. Leo smiled, satisfied. This whole gold digger thing felt pretty good, but it was dangerously addictive. It could kill a man's ambition. Once the bill was settled, Leo had no intention of sticking around. What was he supposed to do? Trail after 2 girls while they shopped. He stood up to leave. "I've got stuff to do back on campus, so I'm gonna head out," he said. "You two have fun." Chloe, still sulking, turned her head away, ignoring him. Sophia just smiled and nodded. Just as Leo was about to walk away, Chloe finally spoke up. "If you're busy, why don't you take my car back? It'll be faster." Leo paused for a second. "I'll just grab a cab. You two get back early." With that, he was gone. Chloe watched him get into a taxi and drive off, her gaze lingering long after the car had disappeared. "He's gone. Stop staring," Sophia said softly beside her. "Come on, let's go shopping." Chloe let out a long sigh and nodded. Yeah, let's go." As they walked, Sophia could tell Chloe's spirits were low. "What's wrong?" she asked, concerned. "Did something happen?" She'd overheard part of Leo's phone call earlier and caught something about Chloe fighting with her father. Chloe's expression was a complicated mix of emotions, but she shook her head stubbornly. "It's nothing. I was just thinking we haven't gone shopping together in a long time. I don't know if we'll get to do this again." Sophia heard the meaning behind the words. She hesitated for a moment before asking, "Are you leaving?" Chloe bit her lip, her eyes drifting back to the street where Leo's taxi had vanished. It was a long moment before she looked back at Sophia. "My dad wants to send me abroad." Her voice was quiet. "He's really determined this time." She turned to face Sophia, her eyes pleading. "Sophia, if I can't change his mind, if I really have to go, you have to promise you'll look after Leo for me." Sophia's brow furrowed. If Chloe left, Leo would be devastated. She didn't ask why this was happening so suddenly. Even without Chloe saying it, she could guess. "Your dad isn't an unreasonable man," Sophia said, trying to be comforting. "Just talk to him more." Chloe gave a bitter smile. "That's what I thought, too. I can only do my best." Sophia added, Why don't you ask Leo? Maybe he'll have an idea." "Him?" Chloe's expression grew even more sorrowful. "How could I ever tell him? The only thing worse than leaving is him telling me that going abroad would be a great opportunity for me. That would hurt more than anything." Sophia fell into a thoughtful silence. Was there really no other way? If Chloe wouldn't talk to Leo, she couldn't exactly go behind her back and do it for her. "I still think you have to tell him," Sophia finally said. "2 heads are better than one. And if you don't want to go, not even your father should be able to force you." Chloe knew she was right. "Okay, let's just go shopping for now," she said, forcing a lighter tone. "Whatever happens, it won't be until after New Year's. There's still time." Perhaps in Ethan Jong's mind, sending Chloe abroad, far away from Leo, was the best solution he could come up with. Leo, of course, was oblivious to Chloe's turmoil. Back in his dorm, he gathered Shane, Chad, and Mark. "All right, you guys split this up and write a business plan for the competition," he instructed. "Get it to Mr. Lou. He'll be our liaison with the school. We're going to be the university's official entry for the Innovate U competition." He continued, "Before that, we need to officially register the company and get a business license. Look up the process. Don't worry about the money." He paused for effect. "I'll land an investor. The first round is $500,000, with a commitment of up to $2 million for the second." Leo said it casually, but to Shane, Chad, and Mark, the words hit like a tidal wave. Leo, Shane stammered. Did you just say? How much? The three of them combined had never even seen that much money. 500,000. And then 2 million, Leo repeated calmly. Got it. The dorm room, 718, fell into a strange, heavy silence, broken only by the sound of them swallowing hard. Shane was the first to snap out of it. Oh my God, 500 grand, he yelled. Leo, man, punch me or something. I think I'm dreaming. Leo had never heard a request like that before. Naturally, he had to oblige. Not a punch to the face, though. The guy still had to be seen in public. Instead, he delivered a swift kick to Shane's ass. Shane didn't even get mad. He just rubbed his backside, a look of pure joy on his face. It hurts, he shouted. That means it's real. A wave of euphoria washed over the room. Leo cut in, bringing them back to earth. Don't get too excited. Getting our hands on that money won't be easy. While Leo and the guys from 718 were planning their next move, Ethan Jiang was sitting on a sofa back in Riverbend, talking to a middle-aged woman. After the new year, I'm sending Chloe to study abroad for 5 years, he said. When she comes back, she can start taking over things at the company. The woman never once looked at him. You do whatever you want. It's not like you ever asked for my opinion anyway, she said flatly. By the way, are you sure those projects my brother is handling are going to be okay? The University of Oregon, a place steeped in history and local legend, was now a cradle for countless dreams. The moment you stepped onto campus, you were greeted by a wide, tree-lined avenue, its canopy of green sheltering students who chatted and laughed, their faces radiating youthful energy. This was the first time Leo had come here with Chloe. He was already intimately familiar with the campus, knew the location of every building by heart, but he couldn't let on in front of her. Excuse me, which way to the main auditorium? Chloe asked politely, stopping a passing female student. Tonight was the finals of the University of Oregon's Campus Singer Showcase, held in the main auditorium. The student's eyes widened with a flash of admiration when she saw Chloe. Are you guys in the competition? She asked. I'm heading there too. You can walk with me if you want. Oh, that would be great. Chloe chirped. She looped her arm through Leo's and fell in a step behind the girl. When the student saw Leo, her expression shifted to one of faint surprise, as if she'd seen him somewhere before. The U of O campus was huge, and it took them a good 10 minutes to reach the auditorium, which was already swarming with people. Do you have tickets? The girl asked. You need a ticket to get in for the finals. The auditorium was large, but not large enough to hold the entire student body, so tickets were limited. Every department got an allocation, but not many. It was obvious Chloe and Leo were from another school, which made their chances of getting tickets even smaller. Unless, of course, they were provided by one of the contestants. Chloe pulled the tickets from her pocket. We've got them. Then you're all set. The seats Sophia had given Chloe were close to the stage. After Leo and Chloe sat down, they could even hear the host rehearsing their lines. The contestants were all backstage, getting ready. Chloe glanced around before turning to Leo. Wait here, I'm going to find Sophia. She had already texted Sophia when they arrived and knew where she was backstage. Leo had no objections. He just shrugged, giving her a look that said, knock yourself out. Not long after Chloe left, Sophia's roommates arrived. Hey, handsome, Quinn said with a sly grin. Here to cheer for Sophia? She covered her mouth as she laughed. Did you bring flowers? You know you can go up on stage and give them to her when she performs. Leo felt a little helpless. If he'd come alone, he wouldn't have minded giving Sophia the full ceremonial treatment. But with Chloe here, it just felt weird. He made arrangements, of course. They just weren't here. He could only spread his hands. Flowers are too cliché. I got a different kind of surprise for her. Hearing this, Quinn and Holly exchanged a look, smiling without another word. Connor's son was the last to arrive, sliding into the seat next to Holly. He was holding 2 bouquets. He gave Leo a brief nod, a silent greeting, before turning to the girls. The flower shops outside were completely cleaned out, he explained. I had to wrestle these 2 bouquets away from a friend. If we split them up, it should be enough. Holly took a bouquet and sniffed it. Something seemed off. She looked at Connor. He smiled sheepishly and rubbed the back of his head. Well, my friend bought them to propose with yesterday. She said no. He lowered his voice. He threw them in a dumpster, then went back in the middle of the night to get them. Even Leo couldn't help but chuckle. Young love. So impulsive. They'll be fine, just fine, Connor insisted. You probably can't even tell. Holly shot him a playful glare, but said nothing. I checked every flower shop outside the campus. Connor defended himself. Not a single rose left. Quinn was bent over, laughing. She looked at Leo. Hey, handsome, want some? Leo shook his head. I'm good for now, thanks. Since he'd refused, they didn't press the issue. While waiting for the show to start, Connor moved over to sit next to Leo, making small talk. Hey, Leo, any word on that thing I asked you to help me with? Leo didn't answer directly. Instead, he asked, You're planning to take over the entire university district's market, aren't you? Connor nodded, admitting it freely. That's the plan. But given the current situation, it's going to be tough. That's why I want to find a few people to partner with. Strength in numbers, you know. Leo nodded. For a startup, sharing the risk was the smart move. Of course, it also meant more problems to deal with. Still, he was curious. What kind of partnership are you thinking? Or to put another way, how would you split the equity? Leo was bullish on the project, but his own team, Shane and the others, were still a little green. They were fine with projects worth a few thousand, but when it came to hundreds of thousands or millions, they got skittish. Hearing the question, Connor gave Leo a long, appraising look, the playful demeanor gone from his face. I take 51%. The rest would be divided based on technical contributions and capital investment. He added, It would all depend on individual ability, of course. Leo sighed internally. 51%. That was a non-starter. I'm with 718, he said, his tone apologetic but firm. I'm also very interested in this project. Equity was control. On that point, Leo would not compromise. It was like that one CEO said, If you lose control of your company, you might as well sell it. Oh, Connor said, surprised. After a moment, he nodded. That makes sense. He leaned in. So should we talk? Leo relaxed his tone, speaking calmly. I take 51%. If you can agree to that, we have something to talk about. Connor stared at him, stunned. Then, he abruptly changed the subject. Have you seen the program for tonight? Besides Sophia, who are you betting on? Leo smiled. Whoever's prettiest, I guess. They chatted for a few more minutes about nothing important, both shrewdly avoiding the topic of their partnership. If they couldn't agree, then they'd just have to let their results do the talking. Connor didn't think he would lose. Leo was even more certain he wouldn't. Just as the competition was about to begin, Chloe returned to her seat. Leo, she said, her voice full of excitement. You won't believe how beautiful Sophia looks today. Her exclamation made everyone around them turn. They saw Chloe leaning affectionately against Leo. Sophia's roommates froze. Connor's jaw dropped. After a long moment, Quinn frowned and asked Leo, Who is this? They recognized her now. This was the girl Leo had been carrying on his back a few weeks ago, when the world was going on. Oh, you know each other? Chloe asked, surprised. Leo's tone was neutral as he made the introductions. Sophia's roommates. A pleasant smile graced Chloe's lips. Hi, everyone. Sophia and I were classmates in high school. Quinn and the others wore complicated expressions. For a moment, they couldn't make sense of the relationship dynamics. They decided it was best to just stay quiet. Connor, however, kept glancing over at Chloe, unable to tear his eyes away. This was just a small interlude. In the vast auditorium, their little group was insignificant, hardly worth a second glance. After all, they weren't celebrities. Mandy Moore. It's really her. Someone's sudden shout pierced the air, and in an instant, the entire auditorium erupted in a deafening roar. Nearly everyone shot to their feet, craning their necks in one direction. Even Quinn and Holly gasped, their hands flying to their mouths in disbelief. No matter how brilliant the students at a top university were, seeing a real-life celebrity was still a thrill. Leo and Chloe remained as calm as ever. Whether it was really her or not, they weren't ones to get starstruck. The cheering grew louder. The host on stage tried to quiet the crowd several times to no avail. It wasn't until a faculty member came on stage that a semblance of order was restored. Moore is here to watch the competition. Please, everyone, remain calm. Although Quinn and her friend sat down, their hearts were still pounding. It really is her. Look, she's walking this way. Who's that in front of her? Mandy Moore seems so respectful of her. Is she smiling at us? Quinn whispered in amazement. This time, even Connor couldn't stay seated. He turned to look. She really was smiling in their direction. Why don't you and your party take the seats up front? The woman walking with Mandy Moore was Kat He. A university professor was at her side, speaking deferentially. As influential as Kat was, she was still a business executive. At a prestigious university like this, she wasn't considered an exceptionally distinguished guest, not one who required an escort from the university leadership. Kat knew this. Professor Zhang, we've already imposed by dropping in like this, she said, showing she knew her place. There's no need for us to sit at the front. We have tickets, so we'll just sit where we're assigned. Thank you. Professor Zhang was surprised to see the tickets in Kat's hand, but he didn't press the issue. He was an academic, not a socialite. He simply nodded. You're too kind. I won't insist, then. If you need anything at all, please let me know. Of course. Thank you for your trouble, Kat replied quickly. The The arrival of Kat, he and Mandy Moore pushed the singer showcase to a fever pitch. Next to Connor, Holly murmured, "It looks like the rumors are true. Every year, someone from the singer competition gets scouted by a media company. I wonder who'll be lucky this time." Quinn added, "I bet it'll be Sophia." She shot a look at Leo. "Right, handsome, right?" Leo said distractedly, then stood up. He ignored the stunned looks from those around him and beamed at the approaching Kat. "Kat, long time no see." "It has been a while," Kat quipped. "Still remember your big sister?" Of course, Leo shot back smoothly. "You're my long-lost sister from another mister. After all." Kat rolled her eyes. "Still a silver-tongued devil, I see." Before Leo could retort, she turned to the woman beside her. "Mandy, this is the mister. What you been wanting to meet. Well, is he what you imagined? Are you disappointed?" Mandy Moore maintained her professional smile. After Kat's introduction, she extended a hand. "Hello, Mr. White. I've heard so much about you. It's a real pleasure to finally meet you." Leo felt a pang of guilt, like a fraud being exposed. But he was in too deep now. He shook her hand briefly. "The pleasure is all mine. Your name is the one that echoes everywhere. I'm a huge fan. I've always wanted your autograph. Could you possibly sign something for me?" Though she knew he was just being polite, Mandy couldn't help but giggle. Of course. Seeing their exchange getting more and more ridiculous, Kat cut in. "All right, let's sit down. We're here to cheer for Sophia, not for a fan meet and greet." With that, Kat sat down next to Chloe. She did a slight double take. Even she had rarely seen a girl with such a clean, breathtaking beauty, and Chloe possessed a natural confidence and grace that couldn't be faked. Leo saw Chloe staring at him and knew exactly what she was thinking. "Kat, you can call her Kat." Chloe politely turned to Kat. "It's nice to meet you, Kat. I'm Chloe Jeong." Kat smiled warmly. "Nice to meet you too." After the greeting, she asked tentatively, "Chloe, have you ever thought about a career in entertainment?" "Ahem." Leo coughed pointedly. "Kat, her dad is Ethan Jeong." Kat's mind raced, and her expression changed instantly. Leo added, "And yes, it's probably the same Ethan Jeong you're thinking of right now." Chloe pouted and nudged him. "It wouldn't kill you to call him Mr. Jeong, you know." Leo threw up his hands. "I was just worried our dear sister here wouldn't make the connection." Kat forced an awkward smile and dropped the subject. Her company was doing well, but it was nothing compared to the Jeong Corporation. There was no way Ethan Jeong's daughter would be allowed to become a public figure. Kat wasn't the only one who was stunned. So was Connor. When Leo had mentioned being interested in the project, Connor hadn't taken it seriously. In a fair fight, he couldn't imagine losing. But seeing Leo chat so casually with Kat, a sense of crisis began to creep in for the first time. Even so, he could still tell himself that with his parents' backing, his chances were still high. But now, hearing that Chloe's father was Ethan Jeong, a wave of helplessness washed over him. In the business world, especially for a family with a business as large as his in the Pacific Northwest, there wasn't a single person who didn't know the name Ethan Jeong. If Leo had his support. "What's wrong?" Holly noticed the change in Connor and asked with concern. Connor just shook his head. Ignoring her, he leaned over and tapped Leo's arm. "Leo, be straight with me. Does Chloe have a boyfriend?" Leo glanced at him. The kid wants to take a shortcut, huh? To crush such unrealistic ambitions, Leo decided he would have to make a noble sacrifice. This was a burden he would have to bear himself. These other guys, with their lofty goals, should just keep their heads down and work hard. With that thought, Leo reached over and took Chloe's hand, holding it up for Connor to see. "What do you think?" Chloe didn't know what game Leo was playing, but she didn't pull away. In fact, she leaned a little closer, letting him hold her hand more comfortably. Leo made no effort to hide his actions from Kat. The look of astonishment on her face was just as profound as Connor's. A moment later, her brow furrowed, her expression turning dark and unsettling. Leo didn't notice. He let go of Chloe's hand and settled back to watch the performances on stage. The arrival of a celebrity had lit a fire under the contestants. They were all top students to begin with, and those who had made it to the Singer Showcase finals were a talented bunch. Their performances were excellent, far from boring. Sophia was the third to last to perform. As the spotlight found her, Leo understood why Chloe had said she looked so beautiful tonight. She wore a pale lavender evening gown, exuding an air of elegance and grace. Paired with her inherently gentle and warm temperament, she was captivating. Quinn and the other roommates began screaming and cheering, injecting a burst of energy into the crowd. Chloe was just as enthusiastic, waving a glow stick and chanting Sophia's name. She'd been to plenty of A-list concerts, but this was the first time she'd ever joined in the cheering like this. Sophia sang, worth a whisper. Leo had heard it once at a karaoke bar, but hearing it in the grand auditorium was a completely different experience. The singers before her had been good, but they couldn't compare to Sophia. She had professional training, even if her heart wasn't in it. While Sophia sang, many people, including her roommates, went up to the stage to offer her flowers. Leo remained seated, unmoved. Chloe continued to wave her glow stick, her expression unreadable. But after Sophia finished her song, Chloe rubbed her eyes, as if a bug had flown into them. "What's wrong?" Leo asked with concern. She just shook her head stubbornly, saying nothing. A moment later, she looked up. Even in the dim light of the auditorium, it was impossible to miss the redness rimming her eyes. "Leo," she whispered, her voice thick, "you have to be okay. Everyone has to be okay." Chloe tried to be strong, to not cry, but her voice broke as she spoke. Leo sensed something was deeply wrong, but he didn't let it show. "Of course," he said, trying for a light-hearted tone. Chloe wiped her eyes with her sleeve and forced a brilliant smile. "Okay, I'm gonna head back now." She stood up and started walking toward the exit. At first, her steps were normal, but then they quickened, turning into a brisk walk and finally a small, desperate run. Kat noticed, but she remained silent, her gaze on Leo turning cold and hostile. Once outside the auditorium, Chloe had intended to go straight back to her dorm. But after just a few steps, she couldn't hold it in any longer. She found a secluded spot, squatted down, buried her head in her arms, and began to sob uncontrollably. After a while, she felt a jacket being draped over her shoulders. She looked up, startled, and saw Leo. The tension left her body. "You jerk," she said through her tears. "What are you doing out here?" Leo didn't speak. He just squatted down next to her, placing a hand on her shoulder and offering her a tissue with the other. "First, you tell me why you're crying." Chloe wiped her tears away, her pride kicking in. "I wasn't crying. I wasn't." Leo didn't call her out. He just reached out and gently tapped the bridge of her nose. "Okay, you weren't crying. My mistake." She turned her head away, pouting. "It was your mistake." Leo fell silent, his eyes fixed on her. Chloe looked like she wanted to say something several times, but in the end, she just sighed, a sound heavy with 1,000 emotions. "Let's go," she said after a moment, pushing herself up. She must have been squatting for too long, because her legs were numb. As she stood, she wobbled, nearly falling. Leo, anticipating it, caught her just in time. The close contact was too much for her. Chloe buried her face in his chest, and the tears came again, this time in a torrent. Her heartbreaking sobs were so loud, they sent a few nearby couples scurrying away. "Still think nothing's wrong?" Leo asked softly a few minutes later, feeling the front of his shirt grow damp. Her crying had subsided to quiet sniffles. Chloe clung to him, refusing to let go. "I wanted you to stay in there and wait for Sophia, but I couldn't say it," she choked out. "You jerk. I know that leaving is the best choice, but I just can't do it." "Why? Why do I have to be the one to leave?" Leo gently patted her back with one hand and stroked her hair with the other. He finally understood the reason for her emotional breakdown. This must have been what she and her father had fought about. Knowing the cause made things simpler. "No one's making you leave." At his words, Chloe's body trembled slightly. She slowly lifted her head. Seeing her tear-streaked face, so beautiful and vulnerable, Leo gently tapped her forehead. "I won't let you leave." A bitter smile touched her lips. "You won't let me leave? You want me to stay and watch you and Sophia?" She couldn't finish the sentence. Every time she thought about it, a sharp, stabbing pain went through her heart. She had always tried to avoid the topic, to push it away. But now, it seemed her father wanted her to run away from it completely. The thought of not seeing Leo for years was what had finally broken her. Leo didn't respond to her question. Instead, he changed the subject. "I'm only going to ask you this once. Do you want to go?" Chloe opened her mouth to speak, but he cut her off. "I'm asking you one time. Do you want to go? If that's what you want, I have no right to stop you." He paused, his voice dropping, gaining a hard, possessive edge. "But if you don't want to go, then no one is going to take you away. Not even your father." It was rare for Leo to be so domineering, and his words were carefully chosen. He had no right to stop her, but that didn't mean he wouldn't. Let her just walk away? Who did she think he was? They weren't at the point of making ultimatums yet. But even if they were, so what? Leo had never planned on being a good guy, and he certainly didn't care about other people's opinions. He liked her. He wanted to be with her, so they would be together. Conflict flickered in Chloe's eyes. She bit her lower lip, unable to meet his gaze. Leo knew he couldn't let her waver now. "Tell me," he pressed. "Tell me right now that you want to leave, and I'll walk away." Chloe felt a sharp sting in her heart. She threw her arms around him again, clinging to him tightly. "No," she cried. "I don't want to. I really don't want to go. Leo, what do I do? I really, really don't want to leave." Leo let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. That last bluff had been a dangerous gamble. I'll walk you back to your dorm first, he said, his voice gentle again. Stop thinking about this. I'll handle it. Chloe nodded quickly, though she didn't seem to have the courage to speak. They walked in silence. When they reached her dorm building, she stood there, biting her lip and looking at him. After a long moment, she asked hesitantly, Leo, will there ever come a day when you tell me to leave? In that instant, all her usual confidence was gone. She was just a normal girl in love, filled with insecurity, terrified that one day he would suddenly decide he didn't want her anymore. She just wanted to hear his answer, to find some comfort, even if it was just a hollow, verbal promise. That would be enough. Leo looked directly into her eyes, his expression serious. You've asked me that before. I said no then, and I'm saying no now. And if you ever ask me again, the answer will still be no. Chloe finally left, a smile finally gracing her lips. Leo watched her back disappear up the stairs before he turned and walked away. As he went, he pulled out his phone and made a call to Spike. Is everything set? Spike's voice came back, steady. All set. I bought out every flower within a 5-mile radius. Everything's laid out. Good, Leo said. You guys worked hard. Give everyone a nice bonus later. Chloe's problem wasn't something that needed to be solved this very second. Even if Ethan Jiang planned to send her away, it wouldn't be immediate. There was still time. And like he'd said, as long as Chloe didn't want to go, no one could make her. Right now, the priority was delivering Sophia's gift. To spare Chloe's feelings, he hadn't done anything while Sophia was on stage, a decision that had earned him a round of dirty looks from Quinn and her friends. Good thing he had thick skin. By the time he got back to the auditorium, the singer showcase was nearly over. The judges were tallying the final scores. Seeing him, Kat couldn't resist a sarcastic comment. I thought you weren't coming back. Leo heard the displeasure in her tone and just shrugged. Why wouldn't I? Kat wasn't about to give him an easy time. Shouldn't you explain what, exactly, is going on between you and that Chloe girl? Her voice was low, but the people around them could still hear. It was a question that not only she, but all of Sophia's roommates were desperate to have answered. Leo couldn't be bothered to explain. He gave a vague, infuriating reply. You can think of it as a complicated relationship. Kat was speechless, struggling to keep her anger in check. Does Sophia know? Why don't you ask her later? Leo's tone was perfectly calm, which only made Kat more agitated. Still, she pressed on. Leo, you'd better be damn sure you know what you're doing. Oh, I do, he said. I've always been very clear on what I'm doing. He knew this was a dead-end conversation. He wasn't going to reach an understanding with Kat anytime soon. Time to change the subject. You know, Kat, maybe you should seriously reconsider my uncle. He's a really great guy. Kat rolled her eyes. I might have considered it before, but not now. I'm afraid he's cut from the same cloth as you. Leo didn't argue. As long as she dropped the other topic, she could say whatever she wanted. Unsurprisingly, Sophia won first place. Mandy Moore was even invited on stage as a special guest to present her with the award. Sophia, congratulations. Mandy said warmly. With a voice like that, it's a real shame not to pursue a career in music. The two had met before and were friendly. Sophia didn't seem to think it was a shame at all. Her eyes found Leo in the audience. Everyone has different dreams, I guess. After the award was presented and the photos were taken, Sophia couldn't wait to get off the stage. She hurried over to Leo's seat. Kat, she greeted her mentor first, but didn't wait for a reply before turning to Leo. Dressed in her evening gown, she did a little twirl in front of him. Well, do I look good? Leo gave her a thumbs up. Of course you do. Sophia's smile was radiant, her dimples deep and enchanting. She glanced at the empty seat next to him. Where's Chloe? She went back to her dorm. Sophia froze for a second, her expression changing as a thought crossed her mind. Ahem. Kat cleared her throat beside them. Sophia turned to her, a hint of annoyance in her voice. I know you're there. You don't have to keep reminding me. Kat had a million questions she wanted to ask Sophia, but seeing the look on her face, she swallowed them all. Sophia had always been strong-willed, stubborn even. Once she made up her mind, she would see it through to the end, even if she knew it was a mistake. What I meant was, Kat said, changing tack. You can pretend I'm not here. Sophia blinked. But I can't do that. You're my big sister Kat, after all. Kat rolled her eyes. Fine, I'm leaving. I'll come find you tomorrow. She decided she needed to go home and organize her thoughts, to figure out how to politely, and without total awkwardness, ask Sophia if she knew about Leo and Chloe's so-called complicated relationship. Sophia, seemingly oblivious to Kat's inner turmoil, replied calmly. Okay, don't let us keep you. Oomph. With a cold snort, Kat left. We should get going too, Leo suggested. It was getting late. Time to wrap this up and get on with a new day. Sophia looked down at her formal attire. Like this. Leo didn't see a problem with it. In fact, he thought it was better this way. Seeing his expression, Sophia knew his answer and decided not to change. She turned to Quinn and Holly. Quinn, Holly, thanks so much for your support tonight. You guys head back first. I'll treat you all to dinner tomorrow. Holly nodded. Quinn, however, gave Leo a wary look before turning to Sophia. Sophia, I need to talk to you about something tonight. Come back early. Leo saw the way Quinn was looking at him, as if he were a thief, and felt a wave of helplessness. Was he really that scary? Sophia noticed and stifled a laugh. Okay. With Sophia's promise, Quinn and her friends got up to leave. Before they went, Connor hesitated for a moment, then said, Leo, man, maybe we could find some time to talk. After the events of the evening, his mind was in turmoil. If he didn't talk to Leo, he felt like he'd never be at ease. Leo didn't have time for him tonight. He put a hand to his ear, mimicking a phone call. Call me. Leo, where are you taking me? Sophia asked after they had left the campus. We're here. Just be quiet for a second. Leo led her to an open field just outside the university grounds, right next to the new market development that was under construction. He clapped his hands. Instantly, brilliant lights flooded the area, illuminating half the night sky. As far as the light reached, the ground was covered in a blanket of fresh flowers. A gentle breeze drifted by, carrying their sweet fragrance. And then, as if on cue, fireworks began to paint the sky. Sophia, Leo said softly, do you like it? In 2004, the Riverbend area had yet to impose strict bans on fireworks. The display over the university district drew spectators from all over. People crowded onto dorm balconies and into the hallways of academic buildings, anywhere with a view. Those who were close enough even started heading toward the launch site. But when they arrived, all they found was a field covered in flowers and no one in sight. Who set them off? No one knew. Who were they for? No one knew that either. All they saw were the flowers, arranged in a swirling pattern of colors that, if you squinted just right, might have looked like the letter S. The event exploded on all the campus forums. So that's where all the flowers went. In Sophia's dorm room, Holly had just clicked on Hot Topic and couldn't help but exclaim. After reading the replies, she mused, you don't think. This could be. Before she could finish, Quinn understood. I think it's possible, she said quickly. Then, she added in a hushed tone, if it is, do you think Sophia is even coming back tonight? They looked at each other and said nothing more. If they were in her shoes, if some guy had done all this for them, it would be hard not to be completely swept away. No, I have to call her, Quinn said after a moment's hesitation. If she hadn't seen Chloe tonight, she wouldn't have meddled. At most, she would have just teased Sophia about it tomorrow. But there was no if. Just as Quinn was about to dial Sophia's number to lure her back, the door opened and Sophia walked in. She had her hands behind her back, a joyful bounce in her step. Now Quinn and Holly were even more confused. Quinn pulled a chair over to Sophia's desk. Sophia, look at this post. Did Leo do this for you? Sophia glanced at the screen. She didn't answer directly, just said with mock surprise, wow, it's on the forums already? Her response was as good as a confession. Now Quinn and Holly were even more intrigued. Sophia, do you know Chloe Jiang? Sophia, who had been about to get ready for bed, froze. But her expression remained unchanged. I know her. We're very close. Now, let's not talk about this again. Though they hadn't known her long, Quinn and Holly understood Sophia's personality. If she said not to talk about it, then they really shouldn't. Just then, Sophia pulled a few brand new, autographed Mandy Moore CDs from her bag. Here, these are for you. Sophia, I love you. Quinn snatched one up and lunged forward to hug her. But Sophia took a step back, a playful look in her eyes. Don't. I don't want people to get the wrong idea. Quinn sighed and gave up. But then she noticed something. Sophia, I thought you were still wearing makeup when you left. And lipstick. Sophia didn't answer. She just scurried into the bathroom. A moment later, over the sound of running water, her voice came out. You must have seen wrong. Quinn giggled. Right. My mistake. While Sophia was in the shower, her phone rang. Quinn saw the caller ID and shouted toward the bathroom. Sophia, it's your mom. Okay, can you answer it for me? Just tell her I'm in the shower. Quinn did as she was told. She could hear the palpable relief in Mrs. Sue's voice on the other end. Thank you. I'll call her back later then. What Sophia wanted was simple, a quiet life together. The occasional romantic gesture was enough to make her happy. Leo knew this, which was why he planned these little surprises from time to time. Leo, man, why are your lips so red? The moment Leo walked into the dorm, Mark spotted it. He even leaned in for a closer look. Are you Running a fever. Leo wiped his mouth and shoved him away. Get lost. Mark, undeterred by the rebuke, just grinned sheepishly. Did you see the fireworks just now? I wonder who did that. It was a huge display. Went on for a half hour. Leo didn't bother explaining. He just sidestepped Mark and went to wash up. Shane watched Mark standing there, dumbfounded, and tried to stifle a laugh. Dude, since when can you wipe off a fever? That's lipstick, you moron. Realization dawned on Mark's face, followed by a look of pure awe. Wow, that's our Leo. Then he frowned. But why doesn't he look very happy? Chad glanced over from his bunk and issued a warning. I wouldn't ask. And for anyone who snores or talks in their sleep, maybe try to keep it down tonight. After washing up, Leo climbed straight into bed. Tonight, room 718 was unusually silent. The lights went out early, and not a sound was made. Leo was grateful for the peace and quiet, but he tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. It wasn't until 3 or 4 in the morning, when he received a text from Spike, that he finally began to relax. It's all taken care of. Seeing those words, he slowly drifted off, but he didn't sleep for long before his alarm blared. Early the next morning, Leo was already standing below the women's dorm at the University of Oregon, holding breakfast. He checked the time. Just as Chloe's usual wake-up time approached, he called her. Hello. Her voice was thick with the grogginess of someone just woken up. If it had been anyone but Leo, she wouldn't have even answered. I'm downstairs. Hearing Leo's voice, Chloe was instantly wide awake. I'll be right down. For some people, right down meant at least half an hour. For Chloe, it really meant right down. In less than 10 minutes, she was standing in front of him, looking fresh and lovely, having even managed to apply a touch of makeup. What's up so early? Leo handed her the breakfast and pointed to a nearby bench. Let's eat first. Leo handed her the breakfast and pointed to a nearby bench. Let's eat first. Chloe nodded obediently. They sat side by side, and Leo finally asked, You don't have class this morning, right? He couldn't remember his own schedule, but he knew Chloe's and Sophia's by heart. Do you have something planned? Chloe asked, sipping her coffee. Finish up, then come with me somewhere, Leo said gently. Chloe had no objections. She stood up immediately. Let's go. I can eat while we walk. But Leo held up his hands. I know you're not delicate, but let's just eat first. It's hard to ride a bike like this. Ride a bike? Chloe asked, surprised. Yeah, look. Leo pointed to the campus bike share station nearby. It wasn't even 8 o'clock, but there were already a number of students renting bikes. On a campus this big, a bike was much more convenient than walking. Leo, I was meaning to ask you, what made you decide to start a bike business? Chloe said as he pedaled. But honestly, it's so convenient. Everyone's been praising whoever came up with the idea. I've been biting my tongue not to tell them it was you. Leo kept his eyes on the path. It had been a while since he'd ridden a bike, and he wasn't used to it, especially with 100-and-something-pound Chloe sitting on the back. You can talk, but can you not put your hands on my waist? He grumbled. If you keep doing that, I'm never giving you a ride again. His original plan had been for them to each get a bike, but Chloe had adamantly refused. Leo made a mental note to talk to Laura Ian about removing the back seats from the bikes. The future bike share models didn't have them. Chloe just giggled, sitting sideways on the rack and wrapping her arms around his waist from behind. Her feet dangled and swayed. But I like it. Leo sighed, resigned. He just had to be more careful. He was tough enough to take a fall, but Chloe wasn't. Even a small scrape that left a scar would be an eyesore for him. Not worth it. Hey, where are you taking me? Chloe asked as they left the campus gates. It's not easy to return these bikes outside of campus, you know. She knew how the campus bike system worked. There were plenty of drop-off points on campus, but outside, there seemed to be only one, and it was in a pretty remote spot. Its only advantage was the new bus stops nearby. Quiet, there's a lot of traffic out here, Leo said, his focus on the road. Chloe, sensing his distraction, fell silent. She pulled out her phone and snapped a picture of the two of them on the bike. This kind of life, she thought, was pretty good. We're here. Get off. Chloe felt like she hadn't been riding nearly long enough when she heard Leo stop the bike and start fussing with the return rack. Pouting, she reluctantly hopped off. When did this field of flowers get here? She murmured, looking at the small sea of color nearby. A crowd had gathered, all there to see the flowers. Even though they were just florist flowers laid out temporarily, the sheer quantity was breathtaking. Leo ignored it. After returning the bike, he held out his hand to Chloe. She took it without hesitation, a familiar habit. Are you taking me to see the flowers? She asked, her excitement obvious. But Leo shook his head. What I have for you isn't that. He glanced at the half-finished flower field, briefly considering whether he should just buy this plot of land, too. Turn into a real, permanent sea of flowers. As it stood now, land around the university district was an excellent investment. He could just sit on it and make a fortune in a few years. What are you thinking about? Chloe asked, shaking his arm when she saw him drifting off. Leo snapped back to reality. What are your favorite flowers? Chloe's face lit up at the question. Jasmine, winter sweet, orange jessamine. I love them all. She listed off several types, and Leo quietly committed them to memory. Well, you can keep liking them for now, he said, leading her toward the construction site of the new market. The main structure was still being built, but amidst the rebar and concrete stood an old factory building. It was here before he bought the land, and he'd just left it standing. It wasn't part of the market's official plan, so he hadn't bothered to tear it down yet. His original idea was to turn it into an indoor sports complex to complement the food court next door, but he hadn't had time to deal with it. Leo, what are you bringing me here for? Chloe asked as they reached the factory door. The area was deserted, the silence a little unsettling. It had taken all her willpower to wait this long to ask. Leo didn't explain. He just turned to her. Push it open. Chloe blinked, her eyes full of confusion. But she did as he said, walking to the large factory door and giving it a hard shove. With a loud creak, the door swung open to reveal complete darkness. The factory windows had been covered with blackout curtains, and even the light from the doorway was blocked by a heavy drape. Do you trust me? Leo asked from beside her. Chloe nodded. I do. I always have. Leo smiled. Then come in with me. Okay. Chloe let Leo lead her by the hand into the factory. The moment they were inside, the door swung shut behind them, plunging them back into darkness. Leo felt Chloe's body flinch, her hand tightening around his. He didn't let the darkness last long. He snapped his fingers. A soft glow from a few scattered neon lights flickered on. It wasn't bright, but it was enough to see their surroundings. When she saw what was inside, Chloe gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. This. Go on, Leo whispered in her ear. The air was filled with a dreamy cascade of floating balloons. Tied to their strings were photos of her from high school. She was still so young then, but already so graceful and beautiful. The moment Chloe took a step forward, the balloons above her began to pop, one after another, showering her with a rain of crimson rose petals. The whole factory now felt like a fairy tale castle, a castle built just for her. Balloons, petals, photos, and on a table in the center of it all, a single gift box. Chloe walked straight to it, but hesitated, her hands hovering over the lid. After taking a deep breath, she slowly lifted it. Inside was a single slip of paper. After reading what was written on it, Chloe couldn't hold back any longer. She threw her arms around Leo, holding him tight. Leo knew her father had given her every grand gesture money could buy. A typical gift would make her happy for a moment, but it wouldn't truly surprise her. Sometimes, a simple promise meant more to her than any present in the world. And on that piece of paper was his promise to her. All right, have you had enough hugging yet? Leo asked after a while, noticing that Chloe showed no signs of letting go. She just shook her head, burying her face in his chest. Not enough. A lifetime wouldn't be enough. So, should I put a bed in here? He retorted. We can continue this on the bed. Chloe pouted, but finally released him. You just love to bully me. Only because you let me, Leo said with a shrug. Her heart fluttered at his words, but she didn't want to waste time on the topic. She bent down, picked up a couple of rose petals from the floor, and brought them her nose. When did you prepare all this? Leo blinked, quickly composing a story in his mind. He pointed to the dark circles under his eyes. What do you think? Chloe assumed he meant he'd been up all night working on it, and she was even more touched. She gazed at him, her eyes shining with pure affection, not even blinking. The look was so intense that even Leo started to feel a little overwhelmed. He quickly changed the subject. It's kind of stuffy in here. Why don't we go outside? But Chloe shook her head. Stuffy? It's not stuffy at all. It's perfect. Clearly, she wasn't ready to leave. Strictly speaking, this was the first real gift he had given her since graduation. You know how all those balloons popped, Leo said, and how the petals kept falling right over you? Chloe was, in fact, very curious. She had even glanced up at the ceiling several times, but it was too dark to see anything. Why? Leo leaned in and whispered, there are people up there. What? Now, Chloe was rattled. She looked up again, but still saw nothing. Let's go. Let's get out of here, Leo urged. This time, Chloe didn't object. The feeling of being watched wasn't exactly pleasant. Were there people on the roof? Of course not. It was just a small remote control switch. He had only lied to her because he couldn't stand being in the room any longer. The overwhelming scent of roses was making him dizzy. It smelled like the air freshener in a cheap motel. On their way out, Leo pulled out his phone and sent a text to Spike. Nice work. He thought Spike would be asleep at this hour and wouldn't reply right away. He was wrong. The reply was almost instantaneous. I don't know anything about romance. Ing and Gabby did it with a few of their friends. Seeing Gabby's name, Leo paused. His fingers flew across the keypad. How's Gabe? Ever since he'd given the DV tape to Ethan Jiang, Leo hadn't followed up. He didn't want to get too involved. He was just waiting to pick up the pieces and make a quiet fortune. He's fine now, already discharged from the hospital. Leo was about to ask for more details when Chloe leaned over. Who are you texting? There were some things Leo didn't want Chloe to know. He showed her the name on the screen before putting his phone away. When Chloe saw it was Spike, she didn't think any more of it. The weather is so nice today, she suggested. Let's go do something. You can give me a ride on your bike. Outside the factory, Leo looked up at the sky. The November sun was warm and comfortable. Perfect weather for a nap. What was that? A ride? Don't you have legs? That was the wrong thing to say. As soon as the words left his mouth, Chloe decided to play dirty. She jumped on his back. Get down, he said flatly. Nope, she argued playfully. I won't. You said it yourself. It's like I don't have legs. She refused to get down, no matter what he said. The area was teeming with university students, and they were drawing curious stares. A few students from the U of O recognized Chloe and started pointing. Isn't that Chloe Jiang? Who's the guy? The rumored Leo White. But he's just average looking. What does she see in him? Students from other schools who didn't know Chloe just saw a beautiful girl. That guy must be loaded, right? One said disdainfully. Maybe that Chloe girl is just after his money. There was a lot of similar chatter, all laced with envy. The U of O students who overheard it would sometimes retort. You clearly don't know anything. Chloe drives her own Land Rover. You think she needs to lower herself for money? That shut them up. Now, even more people were confused. It was one thing to be beautiful, but to be rich, too? Why would a goddess like that, who could have anyone, settle down so early in college? And the key point was, the guy looked completely reluctant. From every angle, it looked like Chloe was the one making all the moves. That made the guys in the crowd feel even worse. Leo never paid much attention to other people's opinions. If he had to manage everyone's emotions, he'd be exhausted. He just carried Chloe all the way to the bike rental station. Only then did she finally hop off his back. She stood there, looking sweet and innocent, her hands clasped behind her. Hi, I'd like to rent a bike, please. The guy working the rental station was a U of O student and recognized Chloe. He nodded eagerly. Of course, can I just see a rental car, please? While Chloe was getting the bike, Leo pulled out a cigarette and offered one to another student working there. Hey man, let me ask you something. Besides U of O students, have kids from other schools been asking about renting bikes? Most of the students working part-time at the rental station were on financial aid. Perhaps because of his background, the guy seemed very timid in front of Leo. Yes, quite a few. Leo nodded. Can you do me a favor? When students from other schools come by, can you keep a tally of which university they're from? The bike business needed to expand. The traffic from U of O alone wasn't enough to support a brand new marketplace. Leo's initial goal in building it was to solve the relocation problem for the Mill District residents. The market's main structure would be finished in about a month, and it could be operational by the end of January at the earliest. He still had a lot to do before then. The student looked at Leo. Anyone else might have thought Leo was just being bossy. Who do you think you are, telling me what to do? But for some reason, this student just nodded earnestly. Okay, when I'm done with the list, who should I give it to? Leo asked. You were hired by Dean Zhao from the Student Affairs office, right? Yes. Then give it to her, Leo said. Tell her Leo White asked for it. Thanks. And no problem. Leo, you're trying to expand the bike share model to the entire university district, aren't you? Chloe said from the back of the bike. Then, if students want to ride their bikes off campus, they'll have to return them here. That way, your new market will get a ton of foot traffic right from start. She had overheard Leo's conversation with the student while she was getting the bike and had immediately figured out his strategy. What if I told you I wasn't, and that I just wanted to do something good for the university? Would you believe me? Leo countered. Chloe tightened her arms around his waist, resting her cheek against his back. Of course. I believe anything you say. The words sounded familiar. He was sure he'd heard them somewhere before. He shook his head, pushing the thought away. Just then, Chloe added, if you really want to turn this into a specialty food destination, you should consider buying up the surrounding land. Develop it all at once, and create a whole commercial hub with a market at the center. When I was home for fall break, I overheard my dad on the phone. It sounds like the city plans to expand in this direction. The development potential around here is huge. Chloe's upbringing meant she was never going to be just a pretty face. Leo knew that, of course. No one knew the city's development plans better than he did. The university district might seem remote now, But in 10 or 15 years, as the city expanded, this area would be bustling, and the student population would only grow, bringing with it immense purchasing power. Leo, still pedaling, completely agreed with her. Great idea. Why don't you lend me some money? I won't ask for much. A few $100 million should be enough. That should get me a commercial hub. The moment he finished speaking, a sharp pain shot through his side. He slammed on the brakes. Chloe, on the back, lurched forward, nearly falling off. What are you doing? They both shouted at the same time. They stared at each other. After a moment, Chloe couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. Did the fat on my waist offend you? Leo grumbled. She turned her head away. No, it just felt really nice to the touch. I couldn't resist. Leo rolled his eyes. Well, thank you so much for that. You're welcome, Chloe said, draping her arms over his shoulders and leaning against him. You know, you don't actually need that much cash to develop a property. Feeling the warmth of her pressed against his back, Leo reached around and gently patted her cheek. I know. Get a loan, then leverage it for another loan. I just don't want to get trapped in that cycle. He had studied the real estate development process and its classic case studies in his past life. But that was all it was, a cursory understanding. He knew that very model was what had buried so many real estate companies in debt later on. Chloe understood his concerns and didn't press the issue. Instead, she asked tentatively, what if I sold LocalLink? I could probably cash out for tens of millions right now. Although Chloe wasn't directly involved in LocalLink's operations, she followed it closely. It was the first investment Leo had ever given her, and she treasured it. Thanks to Ethan John's full support, it was thriving, on the verge of becoming the largest local classified site in the country. Selling it now would be a huge loss. She wouldn't have even considered it if she didn't think Leo was in desperate need of cash. Leo placed his hand on her cheek and gave it a gentle tug. Ow, she yelped, so you could feel pain, huh? Selling it now would hurt your heart even more. Seeing her pouting, on the verge of tears, Leo asked, isn't enjoying a happy life better than just making money? Let's go. With that, he started pedaling again. Chloe buried her face in his back, whispering so softly it was almost inaudible. But you need enough capital to be able to talk to my dad. Though her voice was quiet, Leo heard her. He didn't say anything. Some things were best handled on his own. After circling the university district, Leo took Chloe back to her school. I've got something to take care of, so you go have fun on your own. He could see how happy she was today, so she didn't protest. Okay, call me when you're done. Leo gave her a wary, narrow-eyed look. Isn't monopolizing my entire morning enough for you? What? You want to monopolize my night too? I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Chloe left in a huff, her face bright red, muttering about what a jerk and a pig he was. After she was gone, Leo pulled out his phone and called Laura Ian. You can go ahead and start producing more bikes. And tell the factory that from now on, no back seats. If possible, recall the current batch and have the back seats removed too. Laura, guessing what had happened, couldn't stop laughing on the other end of the line. All right, I got it. After the call, Leo headed back to 718. The something to take care of was just an excuse for Chloe. The university district was hilly, a constant series of uphills and downhills. Biking was exhausting, especially with someone on the back. Someone who couldn't stop tickling him, no less. Right now, all Leo wanted to do was sleep and catch up on the rest he'd missed last night. The next few days were uneventful for Leo. He spent his time drifting between the U of O and his own campus, a life of relative leisure. After their recent confrontations, Sophia and Chloe had reached a tacit understanding not to mention each other. It seemed to be working out well. At least, it was for Leo. He was the only one who had to be exhausted. Leo, I thought the bikes at your school used to have back seats. Why don't they anymore? That evening, after dinner, Leo was taking a walk with Sophia when a group of students from his university rode past. Sophia asked the question with genuine curiosity. Leo grinned internally. Laura Ian was very efficient, but his face remained a mask of innocence. Who knows? Maybe the manufacturer is cutting corners. Sophia clearly didn't believe him. Is that really it? What else could it be? Leo said with a shrug. Seeing his expression, Sophia didn't press him. When they reached her dorm, she said, the concert is tomorrow night. Are you still going? Leo had no real interest in the concert, but he remembered that Shane was planning some grand gesture for Yvonne Yuan. He figured he should probably be there, mostly in case she rejected him, and he decided to do something stupid. If he was there, he could at least call 911. You guys think this is too much? In dorm room 718, Shane, dressed to the nines, stood in front of the mirror, adjusting and readjusting his outfit. Chad and Mark were on the sidelines, eating popcorn like spectators. Only Leo offered a serious nod. A little, he said. Haste makes waste, after all. Shane straightened his collar and fastened his cufflinks. I know, but when you're playing a video game, at least the boss has a health bar you can see. There's no progress bar when you're chasing a girl. I know the odds of failure are high, but I'll regret it if I don't even try. And if I fail, hey, at least I can move on to a new target. Mark's jaw dropped. He looked on with envy. He could never be as coolly detached as Shane. College is only 4 years, Shane added. I don't have time to waste. Chad, munching on an apple, gave Shane a deep look. You really know how to date. Shane smiled at his reflection. But of course, Leo watched quietly from the side. He couldn't add anything here. Shane was right. Better to get a clean answer, one way or another, than to wait around in misery. There was no progress bar for love. A guy like Mark might have the patience for slow burn, but not Shane. The fact that he'd held out this long was already a miracle. Just promise me one thing, Shane said. If I get rejected, you guys can't laugh at me. Don't worry, Chad said deadpan. I promise I won't laugh myself to death. This big guy had a dark sense of humor. Shane didn't dwell on it. Whatever. Laugh if you want. The concert didn't start until 8, but by 6, the arena was already packed. The ticket Sophia had given them were in a great location, close to the stage. Leo didn't go with Shane and the guys. He took Sophia and arrived early. Chloe had said she wanted to come, but at the last minute, something came up. Leo knew it could be a real issue or just an excuse, but he didn't dwell on it. Leo, man, that proposal you mentioned last time, is it still on the table for discussion? Connor's son was there, too. He had bought his own ticket. With his connections in the region, it was easy. He and Leo had met privately not long ago to discuss a partnership. The university district market was huge, and Leo's ambitions went far beyond it. He had never intended to go it alone. A capable partner was crucial. Of course, he wouldn't give away too much equity. Leo was used to being the one in charge. He didn't mind listening to others' opinions, but the final decision had to be his. I made my terms clear last time, Leo said, his expression calm. If you can agree, we'll work together. If you can't, we won't. Seeing the conflict on Connor's face, Leo added another piece to the puzzle. I'm working with Kat, he on a number of things. She's already agreed to arrange a celebrity endorsement for us after the Innovate U competition. He leaned in, lowering his voice. And let me give you another inside tip. There's a new reality show starting next year, something like American Star. I'm going to be the exclusive sponsor. He smirked. A very cheap sponsorship at that. Kat had been in the area for a while. Though she was a bit confused by Leo's relationship with Sophia, it didn't stop her from pursuing further business with him. The endorsement and sponsorship were her offerings to him, and Leo had made sure she wasn't getting the short end of the stick. Connor knew who Kat was. After the singer showcase, he had looked her up. Hearing Leo's words, he gritted his teeth. Leo, I can agree, but could you do me a favor? Connor was actually older than Leo, but this wasn't the time to pull rank. Lowering his status now was beneficial for long-term growth. It was just a title. Connor didn't care. Connor, we're brothers now. Don't talk about favors. If you need something, just say the word. As long as you agree, anything is negotiable. Compared to the greenhorns in 718, Connor was much more mature when it came to business. Bringing him on board was a net positive. My family is in the construction materials business, Connor explained. Could you help me get a meeting with Mr. Jiang? Don't worry. My parents said they'll make sure you're well compensated for your trouble. Just hearing Ethan Jiang's name gave Leo a headache. He had called him a couple of days ago to test the waters and had gotten an earful for his trouble. It was a good thing he had a strong stomach for that kind of thing. Any other kid his age would have gotten into a shouting match. An older person might have even considered being yelled at by Ethan Jiang in honor. I'll do my best, Leo said with a strained, non-committal smile. Seeing his expression, Connor was confused. But then Leo spoke again. I can only ask Mr. Jiang for you, but there's another project we could work on together. Connor was completely lost. Leo's projects had nothing to do with construction materials. Leo continued the redevelopment of the mill district next to the university. It was put on hold for various reasons, but it should be starting up again soon. Connor had heard about that project, knew some of the inside gossip. He narrowed his eyes, studying Leo. Leo, take my advice. That project is out of our league. Even for Mr. Jiang, it will be a stretch. Leo didn't explain. He just clapped Connor on the shoulder. You'll see. In a little while. When Leo had called Ethan, besides testing his attitude, he'd also asked about the situation in Riverbend. It had been days since he'd given him the DV tape, and there had been no ripples. That wasn't normal. Ethan hadn't been explicit, but he'd dropped a hint. Soon. The matter involved too many people, a tangled web of relationships that had to be carefully unraveled. But Ethan seemed to know something. He had even asked Leo if he'd found some powerful backer in the area. Leo knew he couldn't hide it from Ethan, but he played dumb, denying Mr. Ho's involvement. Ethan didn't press. Everyone had their secrets, but this only strengthened his resolve to send Chloe abroad. Leo was too unpredictable. He felt that if it weren't for Chloe, he and Leo might actually get along quite well. From Leo's expression, Connor sensed something big. He asked in a low voice, "Leo, do you have some inside info? You really have to tell me. Doing business in the Pacific Northwest, especially in real estate or construction, you can't avoid the Hanlon Group. Our family is no exception." Leo didn't say anything explicit. He just patted Connor's shoulder and gave him a meaningful look. Sometimes, you have to know what to keep and what to throw away. Connor fell into a deep thought. Holly, sitting next to him, was completely lost, but she knew better than to ask. After a moment, Connor looked at Leo, his expression more serious than ever before. "Leo, I trust you." With that, he excused himself to go to the bathroom. In reality, he was calling his parents. The implications of what Leo had just said were terrifying. If it was true, the entire real estate market in the region was about to be turned upside down. After Connor left, Holly turned to Leo. "Handsome, what is it that you do exactly? You're so mysterious all the time." Sophia chuckled. "Just think of him as a psychic." Holly pursed her lips and nodded. "I'm starting to get that feeling." "If you've got something nice to say, keep it coming," Leo said, rolling his eyes at Sophia. Sophia just giggled and, with a flick of her wrist, fed him a pomegranate seed she had just peeled. Some people get to eat pomegranates without ever having to peel them. The 718 guys were fashionably late, arriving just before the concert was set to begin. Shane CS showed up in his best outfit, clutching a bouquet of red roses. Sophia nudged Leo. Is he about to confess his undying love, or something? Leo shrugged, feigning ignorance. "Who are they? How should I know?" Sophia got the hint and dropped it. Shane saw Leo and Sophia whispering sweet nothings to each other, and had the good sense not to interrupt. He quietly found his seat and waited for Yvonne Yuan to arrive. He didn't have to wait long. She showed up less than 10 minutes later. But when the guys from 718 saw her, their jaws hit the floor. "Who is that?" Mark Leong muttered, stunned. Chad Sheong didn't answer, just swallowed hard and shot a worried look at Shane. As for Shane, he was frozen solid. When he finally snapped out of it, he shoved the bouquet into Leo's hands. Leo, quick on the uptake, immediately presented the flowers to Sophia. "Like them." Sophia blinked, glanced at the shell-shocked guys, and instantly understood. Still, she played along. "I love them." Just then, Yvonne walked over. "Hello, you all made it." Her eyes scanned their row. "Leo, I don't see Chloe." Next to Yvonne was another guy. Their body language was intimate. She was holding his arm. It was obvious they were more than friends. Leo's eyes flickered. He hadn't heard anything about Yvonne having a boyfriend, but he knew this wasn't the time to be nosy. He offered a casual smile. She had something come up tonight. He gestured to the guy beside her. "Yvonne, who's this?" Yvonne was about to make an introduction, but the guy spoke first. "Hi, I'm her boyfriend." The declaration didn't faze Leo much, but Shane looked like he'd been struck by lightning. "Boyfriend? Boyfriend? She has a boyfriend." Leo was only mildly surprised. He frowned slightly and nodded. "Hi." The guy didn't seem satisfied with Leo's muted reaction. Yvonne just looked exasperated but offered no explanation. She saw Shane's crestfallen expression and pulled her wallet from her purse. These tickets were hard to get. "Thanks for this." She counted out over $100. "Here's the money for the tickets." It was clear she wasn't short on cash. Shane just stared, numb. It wasn't until Chad patted his shoulder that he came back to reality. He forced a pained smile and refused the money. "It's fine, you don't have to pay." He deflected. "Besides, Leo got them." "Oh," Yvonne said, surprised. She turned to Leo and offered him the cash. Leo didn't hesitate for a second, snatching the bills. "Well, aren't you generous?" He stuffed the money into his pocket and whispered to Sophia, "Babe, we're rich. What do you want to eat later?" "My treat." Sophia played along beautifully. "Ooh, how about we get some barbecue later?" "Deal." As he bantered with Sophia, Leo kept a close eye on Shane, worried he might snap and do something impulsive. But thankfully, Shane was the kind of guy who could take a hit. Aside from looking a little down, he seemed okay. The concert started, and the crowd erupted, roaring along with the beat. The noise wasn't really Sophia's scene. She held Leo's arm tightly and leaned in. "Your roommate was planning to ask that girl out, wasn't he?" Leo had been dozing off, bored by the concert himself. Hearing Sophia's voice, he nodded instinctively. "You could tell. Only a blind person couldn't," Sophia said. "And besides, didn't you notice? They don't look like a couple." Even though they're acting close, it's more like they're brother and sister. Leo had noticed too, but he wasn't about to tell Shane. If a romantic dunce like Sophia could figure out his plan, there was no way Yvonne hadn't. If she had any interest in Shane at all, she would have offered some kind of explanation. Since she didn't, it wasn't Leo's place to get involved and risk pissing off both of them. Instead, he decided to tease Sophia. So, they look like brother and sister. What do you think we look like? A playful smile touched Sophia's lips. She adopted a sweet, breathy voice. Oh, brother, what do you mean? What do you think we look like? That one word, brother, sent a jolt straight through Leo. It was intoxicating. What did you just call me? Brother, brother. Sophia giggled, the word rolling off her tongue more easily each time. Yvonne and her companion were sitting right behind them. She shot them a surprised look as they flirted. But Leo was oblivious, lost in his banter with Sophia. Not that he would have cared if he knew. He never paid attention to what other people thought. His philosophy was simple. Who are you? Do I know you? The concert blared on, but Shane couldn't take it anymore. He tapped Leo on the shoulder. Leo, I'm heading back. Mark and Chad naturally got up to go with him. Leo checked the time. It was past 9. He turned to Sophia. You want to get out of here too? If it were just the two of them, Sophia wouldn't have minded making him stay with her longer. But she understood the situation with Shane and didn't protest. Let's go. Outside the venue, Shane was still staring at the ground. Leo thought for a moment and decided to offer some comfort. Hey, chin up. There are plenty of other girls out there. Shane nodded, looking up at the falling autumn leaves. I know. A beat. And I also know that guy wasn't her boyfriend. Shane wasn't dumb. In fact, he was pretty sharp. Leo was baffled. Then what are you so mopey about? Shane shot back. Mopey? I'm not mopey. I'm just trying to decide if I should ask Holly One or Anna Jing to the movies tomorrow. Leo stared at him for a long moment, then gave him a swift kick in the rear. Get out of here. Sophia covered her mouth, trying to stifle her laughter. Shane rubbed his butt. All right, the three of us are heading back. You two have fun. Don't want you saying we were in the way. The three of them hailed a cab and left without a second glance, leaving Leo and Sophia alone on the sidewalk. So, brother, should we go too? Sophia asked with a grin. A wicked glint appeared in Leo's eyes. Go? Where are you going? You think you're getting away tonight? Sophia tilted her head up and planted a soft kiss on his lips. So we're not going? Her eyes flickered to the side. Maybe you should ask her opinion. Leo followed her gaze. Well, I'll be, he said. Cat, when did you get here? Catherine Cat. He was watching Leo with a wary expression. The second you two walked out, I figured I'd drive you back to campus. Cat, you could just drop me at the main gate, Leo suggested as Cat's car neared his university. It was as if she hadn't heard him. The doors remained locked. She had no intention of stopping. Sophia, can cars drive onto your campus? Sophia, sitting in the passenger seat, shook her head. No. Then if you know that, why aren't you getting out? Cat said flatly. Sophia froze. After a moment, she said, Cat, you've changed. You never used to be this mean. Cat didn't argue. People change. So, are you getting out or not? Sophia shot a look at Leo in the back seat. Seeing his calm expression, she nodded. Fine, I'm going. She got out, shutting the door a little harder than necessary. The loud thump made even Leo jump. Cat sighed. She knew that was a warning from Sophia. After watching Sophia walk through the campus gates, Cat started the car again, drove a few feet, and parked by the side of the road. Cat, if you have something to say, just say it, Leo said, taking the initiative when it was clear she wasn't unlocking the doors. Cat sighed. Leo, are you and Ethan Jean close? Why do you ask? Leo was confused. The two of them were from completely different worlds. He couldn't imagine why Cat would bring him up. Instead of answering directly, Cat said, Do you remember Poppy? Leo thought for a moment. That pop star. Cat nodded. Yes. I just terminated his contract a little while ago, and he immediately signed with another media company. Now Leo was even more baffled. What does that have to do with Mr. Jean? Cat continued. The media company he's with now is backed by the Hanlon Group. And now, he's in trouble. He's suspected of coercing a fan into a sexual relationship. The evidence is solid, and the story will probably break tomorrow. He'll be finished. And not just him. The company he's with now will be dragged down with him. Leo listened silently. None of this had anything to do with him. He just listened to what she had to say. Kat glanced at Leo in the rearview mirror. Seeing his detached expression, she felt a wave of frustration. Ethan Jiang is arranging this. Otherwise, how could a star of that magnitude fall so easily? Kat, are you done? Leo said. If you're done, I'm gonna go. He tried the door handle. Still locked. Kat spoke calmly. I'm the one who gave him the evidence. Now Leo was truly surprised. Even though the guy was no longer with Kat's company, they still had connections. Doing this offered her no benefit. Ethan Jiang came to me in your name to ask for it. Leo was speechless. So, should I thank you for giving me so much face? You're welcome. But mostly, Ethan Jiang's offer was too good to refuse. Leo felt the urge to roll his eyes but knew she couldn't see him. He saved his energy. Okay, I get it. Can I go now? Yes. But first, promise me one thing, Kat said. Leo asked cautiously. Do you have a blanket in this car? I'm thinking of sleeping here tonight, if you don't mind. He flopped down on the back seat. Seeing his stubborn act, Kat's temper flared. She took 2 deep breaths to calm herself. What I have to say has nothing to do with Sophia. You should have said so sooner. Leo shot upright. You had me scared there. Your business is my business. There's no need for promises. Kat rubbed her temples. Since Ethan Jiang is making a move, it's not just about Poppy. This is probably just the beginning. Poppy's new company is definitely going to get hit. I'll be direct. I want to acquire that company, and I need your help to communicate with Ethan Jiang. After she finished, Leo thought for a moment, then nodded. Okay, but don't get your hopes up. Some things are out of Mr. Jiang's hand too. Kat had naively assumed Ethan Jiang was the only one pulling the strings, that if she just talked to him, the problem would be solved. But Leo knew it wasn't that simple. Kat wasn't stupid. She understood the implication in his words and frowned, lost in thought. What's the valuation on that media company? Leo asked. Since Ethan was making his move, the Hanlon Group was likely to collapse soon. That would be his time to pick up the scraps. If he could, he wouldn't mind using a favor to help Kat. Her goodwill was worth the price. More importantly, her help would make things much smoother with Sophia's family. Money could be earned back, but a favor from Kat was priceless. Kat didn't know why he was suddenly asking. Probably a few million. Kat, don't bother Mr. Jiang with this. He's in a tough spot right now, too, Leo said. I'll figure something out. You? Kat's tone was skeptical, but when she saw his serious expression, she instinctively chose to trust him. Okay, and don't worry, I won't let you do it for free. Leo just smiled. They were both smart. Some things didn't need to be said out loud. After Leo got out, Kat floored it and sped away. Watching her taillights disappear, the corner of Leo's mouth curled into a smile. Sometimes, things just worked out perfectly. What someone else needed was exactly what you could provide, and what they could offer in return was exactly what you needed. Leo was strolling leisurely toward his dorm when he saw a familiar figure and froze. What are you doing here? Sophia pursed her lips, her expression calm. I walked, obviously. So, what did you and Kat talk about for so long? Though she was feigning nonchalance, the worry in her eyes was impossible to hide. Just some business stuff, Leo said truthfully. But Sophia narrowed her eyes, unconvinced. Really? Just that. Leo didn't bother explaining. He just opened his arms. You want a hug? Sophia didn't hesitate. She stepped forward, wrapped her arms around his waist, and rested her head on his chest. What kind of business takes that long to discuss? It's complicated. Better not to get into it. Seeing that his tone was normal, Sophia believed him. Then let's not talk about it. Just hold me for a little while. Being held by Leo, smelling his scent, was enough for her. As for what he and Kat talked about, that was their business. She didn't care. After a while, Sophia looked up at him. The renovations on the apartments will be done in half a month. When do you want to go see them? If she hadn't brought it up, Leo would have almost forgotten he owned a place here. He'd handed it over to the renovation company and hadn't thought about it since. Leo looked at Sophia with a meaningful smile. Did you knock it down? During the planning, Leo had suggested knocking down the wall between their 2 units to create a larger space. At the time, Sophia hadn't given him a clear answer. Sophia blinked, a playful look in her eyes. Why don't you go see for yourself? I'll go tomorrow. Sophia smiled and stepped out of his embrace, waving. See you tomorrow, then. I'm heading back. It was getting late. Time to go. I'll walk you, Leo offered. Although their schools were right next to each other, separated only by a street, he didn't feel right letting her walk alone. Besides, he knew if he didn't say it, she probably wouldn't leave. Sometimes, she didn't say what she really meant. Sophia smiled, pleased that Leo had figured that out. She remembered the time she had to throw her flip-flop at him to get him to walk her home. Okay. After dropping Sophia off, Leo felt he should call Spike again. It was late, but Spike was a night owl and would likely still be awake. Leo, what's up? Spike's voice was groggy. Leo could even hear a woman's sleepy voice in the background asking who it was. Leo was stunned. He knew Spike was efficient, but he hadn't expected him to be this efficient. Before Leo could say anything, he heard Spike whisper, It's Leo. Go back to sleep. After a moment, Spike must have moved to another room. Leo. Leo let out a puff of smoke and chuckled. Well now, When do I get an introduction? Spike sounded a bit embarrassed. It's Claire. You've met her, and I have you to thank for this. Leo was confused. The name sounded familiar, but he couldn't place her. Spike added, the woman who was assigned to help when the gaming lounge first opened. Leo finally remembered. The girl with the glasses Spike had been fawning over. She was one of his employees, just moving assets from one pocket to another. Still, he gave him a warning. She had a promising future on Laura Yin's team. She stayed in this little town for you, so you better not screw it up. Of course not, Spike said. Leo didn't really care about his love life. He had a reason for calling so late. After a bit of small talk, he got to the point. You said that as soon as that guy gets out of prison, you'd make sure he goes right back in. How are the arrangements for that coming along? Spike knew how important this was to Leo and had already made preparations. Don't worry, Leo. I checked. He's got another month. I won't give him a chance to leave Riverbend. You can never be too careful. Leo didn't want any surprises. Go tomorrow and confirm his release date again. Spike, you can't afford to be careless with this. Popular celebrity suspected of coercing a fan. An entertainment story swept across every major media website. Even national news outlets picked it up, issuing statements that they would show no tolerance for disgraced celebrities. How could Poppy be that kind of person? I can't believe I liked him for so many years. He's a monster. How could he do something like that? What's the big deal? He just made a mistake every man makes. No need to be so harsh. Guy above me is right. But what does a mistake that every man makes have to do with him? Good point. None of his business. Leo scrolled through the comments on a message board, chuckling at the online trolls. Sometimes, the comment section was more entertaining than the news itself. Leo, look at this, Spike said, handing him a newspaper. Leo took a bite of his apple and glanced at it. The headline was huge and impossible to miss. Poppy's current agency is Hamlin Media, a company with a history of scandal. This paper has some guts, Leo mused. Who owns them? In this part of Washington, the Hamlin was an untouchable titan. Leo didn't believe anyone would dare to cross them so openly. It had to be Ethan pulling the strings. If that was the case, he needed to add this news to his blacklist. Otherwise, when the time came for his own showdown with Ethan, he could find himself on the receiving end of a similar attack. Spike had already done his homework. It's the Riverbend Chronicle, an old local paper, never made much of a splash before. I guess they decided now was their moment. Leo nodded. Do a lot of people buy it? Spike shrugged, a strange look on his face. Leo noticed. What? Is there a problem? Spike threw his hands up. I don't know how to answer that. Nobody's buying it. Before Leo could ask, he elaborated. Because you don't have to. There was a stack of them on the doorstep this morning. I looked around, and it seems like every shop has them. And that's just what I saw. It clicked for Leo. Spike didn't have a newspaper subscription. He cleared his throat. Dig deeper into this paper's background. He paused for a moment. And you can bring Gabe Xian back. This should all be over soon. Leo could feel the palpable relief from Spike, who had been on edge the whole time Gabe was recovering in hospital. Spike was a loyal guy, and he'd felt useless just waiting. Thanks, Leo. One more thing, Leo continued. I need you to investigate all of the Hamlin Group's assets. Focus on anything valued over a couple $1 million, and try to get a clear picture of their recent performance. Spike jotted it down. Got it. Then he asked, anything else? When Leo shook his head, Spike left the office. The tasks Leo had given him were complex and required a lot of connections, all of which needed to be managed carefully. Watching Spike leave, Leo sighed. He still had too few people he could rely on. Besides Laura Yin and Spike, he had no one else. Fortunately, both of them were incredibly capable. But he knew this wasn't a long-term solution. Even if they were made of steel, they couldn't keep up this pace forever. Laura was fine, a perpetual bachelorette with no romantic life to manage. But Spike was a different story. Leo, my parents would like to meet you. Is that okay? As Leo was lost in thought, a text came in from Connor's son. He had hinted to Connor that he could sever his ties with the Hamlin Group. Although Connor had said he trusted him at the time, Leo figured it was just talk. After all, unless you were an idiot, who would risk offending such a powerful figure based on a single conversation? Or maybe Leo thought he really is an idiot. Since he had a free afternoon, he replied, Are your parents free tonight? A reply came back almost immediately. Yes, they'll come to you. We'll call when we get there. Connor smiled, satisfied, as he looked at the OK on his phone screen. He turned to a man in his 50s. Dad, let's go see him tonight. Was Connor's son an idiot? Not at all. In fact, he was incredibly sharp. Otherwise, his family wouldn't have thrown their full support behind his startup. Everything he'd said about trusting Leo was, in fact, just talk. But after seeing the news this morning, he sensed something was wrong and told his father. His dad's reaction had been ambiguous. They wanted to get more information out of Leo before making any moves. If what Leo said was true, and the Hamlin Group was about to fall, just knowing that in advance could make them a fortune. When a whale falls, it creates an entire ecosystem. As long as the giant stood, there was no room for anyone else to grow, especially not for someone like his father, whose business was significant but not quite at the top. Mr. Son's eyes narrowed as he stared at his son. He said before that we could cooperate on the Mill District redevelopment project, right? Do you think he can actually snatch that project from the Hamlin Group? Mr. Son had no airs about him, which was why Connor felt no inhibitions around his father. He spoke his mind. I believe him. Just based on the network he's shown so far, it's worth my trust. As evening approached, Leo was already waiting at the university gate. No matter what, he was the junior. It wasn't right to make elders wait. A black Cadillac Escalade pulled up in front of him. The window rolled down, and Connor leaned over with a grin. Leo, getting in? Mr. Son called out from the driver's seat. Hello, Leo. Mr. Son, Leo replied. I've booked a table at the Golden Swan nearby. Is it convenient for you to park there? Connor was pleasantly surprised. Mr. Son was also taken aback for a second before smiling. All right, I'll go park, and you can wait here for me. We'll walk over together. Connor had planned to get out, but the door was locked. He glanced at his father, who gave him a subtle look. He understood and nodded. As Mr. Son parked the car, he said quietly, that name, Leo White. It sounds familiar. Now Connor was completely confused. I only just remembered when I saw the Rush Sportswear logo on the campus bikes. Mr. Son explained. Rush was founded in July. In just a few months, it swept the nation. I looked into it before. The founder of Rush is named Leo White. No way, Connor said, stunned. If that's true, he should be more focused on the apparel market. Why is he messing around with my delivery business? Mr. Son wasn't surprised. You go where the money is. That's normal. And didn't you say he's close with Ethan Jiang? The reason Rush grew so fast was because Ethan Jiang helped smooth the way. The father and son fell silent. After a moment, Connor asked cautiously, Dad, what are you thinking? Mr. Son spoke slowly. Rush is growing incredibly fast. I believe it won't be long before it goes public. At that point, his net worth will skyrocket to a terrifying number. That alone makes it worth our while to take a gamble. Connor had a good idea of what his father was thinking, but he asked anyway. What kind of gamble? We bet on his trust in you by giving him our absolute support. Seeing his son's expression, Mr. Son worried he might have discouraged him. He added a word of comfort. Sometimes, following the right person is much easier and has better prospects than starting your own business. Connor understood his father's meaning. He gave a wry smile. Actually, after I found out about his connections, I was already thinking about partnering with him. It's all about who you know. At the Golden Swan, Leo poured a glass of wine for Mr. Son and Connor, then turned to the elegant middle-aged woman beside them. Mrs. Son, what can I get you to drink? Connor's mother was nearly 50, and time had etched fine lines on her face. She was wearing a lot of jewelry, dripping with a certain kind of wealth. But tonight, she had reigned in her usual pride. On the way over, Mr. Son had explained to her just how important Leo was. She looked at Leo with a benevolent smile. Don't worry about me. I'll just have tea. Leo politely poured her a cup. Mr. and Mrs. Son, Connor and I are like brothers. That makes you my aunt and uncle. Please, don't be strangers. Mr. Son wasn't too surprised by Leo's smooth talk, but his wife was clearly taken aback. Of course. We won't. After a few drinks and several courses, Leo remained silent, waiting for them to speak first. Since they had invited him, he was in no hurry. Mr. Son's face flushed easily with alcohol. After 2 glasses, his face was beet red, and it was hard to tell if he was drunk or not. He slung an arm around Leo's shoulder. Leo, your uncle here has never seen much of the world. As the young people say, I don't have much ambition. I just got lucky and made a little money. But compared to that insignificant achievement, what I'm most proud of is this son of mine. You're both young, you should talk more. I like what you said earlier about being like brothers. I'm going to take you at your word. I also know you're a capable man. If you have the chance, help him out a little. Connor took after his father. His face was red after 2 drinks as well. He protested, Dad, it's called helping each other. Leo just smiled, his eyes narrowed. That's right. We'll call it mutual support. Mr. Son didn't press the issue. Good. Oh, by the way, about that Mill District redevelopment project you mentioned. Leo's interest in Connor was precisely because of his family's network and influence in the region. He didn't mind sharing a little information. Whether they believed him or not was their problem. Uncle Son, I'm determined to get this project. When the time comes, I'll need to rely on your help. Of course, Mr. Sun agreed immediately. But then he asked, testing the waters, you do know who has the project right now, don't you? On the surface, it looked like a few men getting drunk and talking nonsense. In reality, they were all sounding each other out. Mr. Sun wanted to gauge Leo's confidence. They were all old foxes, and Leo knew it. He didn't bother beating around the bush. You saw the paper today, didn't you? This is just the beginning. Hearing this, Mr. Sun downed his glass of wine in one gulp. He showed Leo the empty glass. Leo, if you're really planning to take over this project, you can contact your Uncle Sun for anything you need. I can't promise much, but when it comes to construction materials, I definitely won't make a profit off you. Leo drained his own glass. Then thank you, Uncle Sun. Mr. Sun had his reasons for being a major player in the regional construction market, and that was exactly the kind of channel Leo lacked. He had originally planned to ask Ethan Jiang for help, but given the current situation, he felt it was best to avoid asking him for anything if he could. The Mill District project was too important. The clinking of glasses at the dinner table was just an exchange of interests. Mr. Sun was interested in Leo's connections and his future. Leo was interested in Mr. Sun's supply channels and Connor's ambitions for the delivery market. With the negotiations complete, the banquet was winding down. Leo, come visit our home when you have time. Your uncle will always welcome you, Mr. Sun said, slurring his words as he leaned on his wife on their way out of the private room. Leo wasn't in much better shape. The father-son duo could really drink. It's a deal, then. I'll be sure to stop by. Leo thought he must be really drunk. Was he seeing Sophia? He rubbed his eyes. Was she still there? And Holly Chow was with her. But Holly seemed timid now, her head down, avoiding Connor's gaze. It was Connor's mother who spoke first. You must be Holly. I've seen your picture. You're much prettier in person. Holly blushed, stammering, Thank you, Mrs. Sun. You're too kind. Sophia wasn't paying attention to their conversation. She walked straight up to Leo. How much did you drink? Leo shook his head, trying to clear it. Was he hallucinating her voice, too? He answered anyway. If I said 2 glasses, would you believe me? He saw Sophia nod. I believe you, you little lightweight. Those words sobered Leo up instantly. Just then, Sophia came over and supported him. Feeling her presence, Leo realized it wasn't a hallucination. What did you just say? He asked quickly. Sophia gave him a playful smile. I said, you're really impressive. Leo leaned on her, emboldened by the alcohol. Impressive? You bet I am. You'll find out just how much later. Sophia didn't show a hint of shyness. Her eyes curved into crescents as she said meaningfully, Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Connor sent Holly a message saying you guys were drinking here and asked us to come pick you up, Sophia explained as they stepped out of the hotel. A cold wind blew, sobering Leo up considerably, though his head was still spinning. He sat down on the steps of a nearby planter and habitually pulled out a cigarette. But just as he put it to his lips, Sophia snatched it away. It's soaked from the wine. Don't smoke it. Leo then remembered that Connor had accidentally spilled some wine on his pack of cigarettes. He sighed, deciding to go without. But then Sophia said, Wait here. There's a convenience store right over there. I'll go buy you some. Before Leo could do more than stare at her, she was already jogging toward the store. Watching her go, Leo felt a sense of unreality. He pinched his own thigh. Pain. Good. That meant it wasn't a dream. Here for you. Sophia was back in no time, handing him a fresh pack of cigarettes. But Leo no longer felt like smoking. He pocketed them and held out his hand to her. Want to go for a walk? It was already late. The streets around the university were nearly empty. Just as Leo spoke, a young couple walked by. He could faintly hear the boy saying something like, I still want to get some barbecue. How about we don't go back to the dorm tonight? We can get a room. I promise I won't do anything. The girl just kept her head down. Silence was consent. Sophia heard it too and looked at Leo with a mischievous smile. The meaning was clear. What's your excuse going to be? Leo feigned ignorance and pressed. So, are we going? Sophia didn't hesitate, a sweet smile on her face. She put her hand in his. Let's go. Her hand was soft and warm in his, incredibly comforting. The university town was in the suburbs, with no mature residential areas nearby. At night, it lacked the dazzling, intoxicating lights of the city. They walked for a while, and Leo didn't see a single barbecue joint. He did, however, see plenty of motels. He was quiet the whole way, not making any extra moves, though he did occasionally cast a curious glance inside the motels they passed. Aren't you going to say something? Sophia finally broke the silence. Leo thought for a moment, then stopped walking. He turned to face her. It's so late. Your dorm supervisor is probably asleep by now. Does that mean you can't get back in? Sophia blinked, nodding seriously. I guess so. So how about we? At his words, Sophia's heart leaped. She was nervous, but also a little expectant. But before Leo could finish, his phone rang, shattering the moment. He glanced at it and hung up without a second thought. How about we tonight? The phone rang again. Leo hung up again. This happened several more times. Seeing the look on his face, Sophia couldn't help but chuckle. Maybe. You should answer it. What if it's important? She suggested softly. She even added, I'm not going to run away. Leo sighed. What timing? He pulled out his phone. Just then it rang again. Leo. It was Spike, his voice urgent. If it weren't critical, he wouldn't be bothering Leo at this hour, much less calling back repeatedly after being ignored. What's wrong? Leo's irritation vanished when he saw it was Spike. He knew his friend's personality. I just got the news today. The guy. He had good behavior in prison, and he recently did something to earn merit. He was released early. Yesterday. The words were like a bucket of ice water. Leo's drunkenness evaporated, and his expression turned grave. Sophia felt his hand tighten around hers and saw the change in his face. She gave his hand a gentle squeeze, as if to say, whatever happens, I'm with you. Leo pulled his hand back and gently patted her back, telling her to wait a moment. He walked a short distance away, just out of her earshot. His eyes never left her. This is too sudden. All the preparations we made are useless, Spike said on the other end. Leo knew the man wouldn't let things go. There had already been one accident in his past life. He wouldn't let it happen again. And this time, Sophia wasn't in some distant city. Panicking wouldn't solve anything. Leo forced himself to calm down. Do you know where he is now? I've already got people looking. As soon as I have news, I'll tell you. Spike sounded incredibly guilty. He knew how important this was to Leo. He'd been warned time and time again, and yet there was a screw-up. Leo, I'm sorry. Leo sighed. This wasn't Spike's fault. It was his personal business, and he was grateful for all the help Spike had given him. You should get some sleep. Just let me know if you hear anything. The calmer Leo's tone, the more uneasy Spike felt. If Leo had yelled at him, he might have felt better. Don't worry, Leo. I'll head back to Riverbend tomorrow. I'll find him. No, Leo said quickly. The gaming lounge expansion is at a critical stage. You're needed there. Besides, what good would it do for you to come here? Have you guys keep an eye on the bus and train stations. He might be coming to Washington. After giving his instructions, Leo hung up. It wasn't the thief you had to fear, but the fact that he was always thinking about you. Thieving was easy. Guarding against a thief was hard. Leo's original plan was to solve the problem at its root, but now, everything was uncertain. Is something wrong? Sophia had respected his privacy and hadn't followed him. She came up to him as soon as he hung up. Leo shook his head. It's a small thing. I can handle it. Come on. I'll walk you back to your dorm. He paused, then added a warning. For a while, if it's not important, it's best if you don't leave campus. If anything happens, call me immediately. Sophia was smart. She'd heard Spike's voice when Leo first answered and instantly guessed what was going on. She wrapped her arms around Leo's waist and buried her head in his chest. Some things you just have to face. I think I said something to you about this before, didn't I? Leo was confused. He looked down at her. You said a lot of things to me. Sophia smiled. I said, if there's a next time, you remember to run first. Leo reached up and gently stroked her hair. Let's go. Back to the dorm. Sophia stuck out her tongue playfully. Really? Back to the dorm? Now Leo was the one hesitating. But after a moment, he gritted his teeth. Yes, back. Oh, okay then. For some reason, Sophia sounded a little disappointed. Leo remembered that outside the women's dorm at his university, there was a small blackboard that said, if you're back late, knock. The RA is on duty 24/7. But outside the women's dorm at Sophia's school, there was no blackboard. Their doors, which were electronic and opened with a student ID card, didn't lock until 11 p.m. So, Sophia was a liar. It was almost 11 when Sophia got back to her dorm. Quinho was still awake, propping her head up with her hands as she sat at her desk, eyelids drooping with exhaustion. The sound of the door opening jolted her awake. When she saw it was only Sophia, she asked, Sophia, you're back alone? Where's Holly? Didn't she go out with you? There were 4 people in their suite, but one lived off campus most of the time. The 3 who were always there were close. When Sophia and Holly had left, Quinn had even asked if they needed company, but they had declined. Sophia was also confused. She's not back yet. If it had just been Connor, she would have understood Holly not coming back. They were adults with their own night lives. But his parents were there too. Could they have gotten that close on their first meeting? Seeing that Sophia didn't know, Quinn dropped the subject. She stretched. Forget it. I'm not waiting up. I'm going to sleep. Connor's a good catch. At least his family has money. She yawned. I'm just glad you're back. She added with a pointed look, I really worry that one day you'll be sold off by that guy and still be helping him count the money. Sophia knew exactly what Quinn meant. She had told her friends she didn't want to discuss the topic anymore, which was why Quinn was being so indirect. Thinking of Leo, a faint smile appeared on her face. Quinn, one day, when you meet someone you really like, you'll understand. Even if you get tricked, you'll be happy about it. Quinn stared at her, then waved her hand dismissively. Then I hope I never meet him. Relationships are too much trouble. I'm determined to be a strong, independent woman, she declared, making a fist pump gesture. A strong woman? Sophia had the potential for that, too. Independent. That sounds so boring, Sophia muttered before heading off to wash up. Leo had said he would take her into the city tomorrow to buy pepper spray and things like that. Although she thought he was being overly worried, the feeling of being cared for was wonderful. In 2004, you didn't need an ID for everything. Finding a single person was incredibly difficult. Leo knew that panicking wouldn't help, but he couldn't calm down. The memory of that knife from his past life was still vivid. If Spike hadn't shielded him, the consequences would have been unthinkable. Spike had taken a knife in his back and had been in the hospital for months. He never fully recovered, and the injury left lasting effects. Leo had felt guilty about it for a long time. That's why, after being reborn, he brought Spike along in everything he did. It was a form of compensation. Leo wasn't afraid of the man finding him. He was afraid of him finding Sophia. After all, it was her mother's reporting that had exposed the dark secrets of his family's pharmaceutical factory, leading to their downfall and ruin. Destroying someone's livelihood, tearing their family apart. That was a blood feud. Some people never believe they are wrong. They only blame others. And he was that kind of person. Leo knew there was very little he could do right now. The root cause was that he was still too weak. Looks like the new expansion plan needs to be accelerated, Leo murmured to himself. Money was power. He didn't sleep a wink. The next morning, he left early. He had planned to find Spike, but decided against it. Knowing Spike, he was probably more anxious than Leo was. Showing up would only add to his pressure. Connor, you awake? Connor mumbled groggily. Just from the sound of his voice, it was clear he wasn't. But Leo didn't care. If he said he was awake, he was awake. I have something I need your help with. Before Connor could reply, Leo heard a familiar voice in the background. Who is it? Calling so early. Can't a person sleep? Leo was speechless. What was with everyone lately? It wasn't even spring. Go back to sleep, Connor whispered, covering the phone. He got up and went to the bathroom. Leo, no need to be so formal. What's up? Leo had planned to talk in person, since some things were hard to explain over the phone. But now he thought better of it. I made an enemy a while back. He just got out of prison and might be coming to Washington to find me. Connor thought it was strange. With Leo's connections, if he knew someone was coming for revenge, he wouldn't have let them get anywhere near him. But he agreed anyway. I can't promise much, but around the university town, I have some pull. Send me his picture, and I'll have people keep an eye out. After hanging up with Leo, Connor didn't dwell on it. He called his father and told him about the situation. His influence was all thanks to his dad. In the construction business, you had all sorts of connections. This was a job for him. Mr. Son was taking Leo's affairs more and more seriously. Today's paper was already on his desk. The scandal involving the Hamlin Group's media company was escalating. And that was just the papers. Online was even worse. Every forum was buzzing about them. People were already starting to dig up dirt on their other subsidiary companies. It was just as Leo had said last night. Pull one rotten radish, and the whole patch comes with it. This was only the beginning. It also proved that Leo really did have inside information. The Hamlin Group was really going to fall. Because of this, Mr. Son had gone to his office early, planning to completely sever ties with them. That's when he got Connor's call. After Leo sends you the photo, bring it to my office. I'll handle this for him. After the business talk, he remembered something else and chuckled. By the way, you left with that girl last night. Where did you end up? Connor froze for a second, then said, we went back to campus. You'd better have. Mr. Son warned. You know how your mother is. It'll be very difficult for you and this girl to work out. It's best not to ruin her life. Connor glanced at Holly on the bed, at the clothes scattered on the floor. He feigned composure. I know. Hanging up, Connor had no desire to sleep. He leaned on the sink with both hands and sighed at his reflection. You really are a scumbag. In the bed, Holly's body trembled. She secretly wiped the corners of her eyes with the corner of the blanket. Her eyes had remained shut the entire time, as if she were still fast asleep. After talking to Connor, Leo went straight to the cafeteria and got breakfast to go. He walked to Chloe Zhang's dorm building, but instead of calling her, he just tilted his head back and yelled. Chloe Jiang. Chloe Jiang, are you up yet? It wasn't even 8 in the morning. Aside from students with early classes, most people were still asleep. Leo's shouts didn't bring Chloe out, but they did earn him a lot of complaints. What moron is making a scene this early in the morning? If she doesn't answer, can't you go up and find her yourself? So indecisive and timid. And you think you can win over Chloe Jiang? Yeah, if you got the guts, come on up. The taunts and curses didn't faze Leo. He just kept yelling, Chloe Jiang, if you don't come out, someone else is going to steal me away. He had just finished that line when a cup came flying out of a window and shattered on the ground right in front of him. Leo stumbled back in mock terror. Chloe Jiang, if you don't come down, I'm going to get killed. You're going to lose me forever. Women of all ages love drama, especially relationship drama. Balconies began to fill up with girls in pajamas, watching Leo's performance. As his claims got more and more absurd, some of the uninformed onlookers started to heckle him. Whoa, who do you think you are? Give him an inch, and he takes a mile. Thinks he's some big shot. You think Chloe Jiang cares if you live or die? Yeah, exactly. Over the cacophony, a single, sweet voice cut through the noise. I do care. I'll be right down. Chloe had just been woken up by her roommate, who told her Leo was downstairs shouting for her. She hadn't believed it at first. The old Leo would have called. But when it came to Leo, she took everything seriously. She jumped out of bed to see for herself. When she saw it was really him, her face lit up, and when she heard someone questioning whether she cared, she got mad. Of course I care. I care a lot. Chloe's declaration sent the dorm into an uproar. No way, was that really Chloe Jiang talking? Who is this guy? Whoever he is, he's no good. Yeah, would a good person do this? Wailing like a banshee outside the girls' dorm this early? True. Leo wasn't a reckless person. This absurd display was just a way for him to vent. Besides, college life was great, and everyone was in their prime. How could they let sleep get in the way of building a beautiful nation? As the saying goes, why sleep so long in life, and you will sleep forever in death? He didn't have to wait long. Chloe came down and stood before him, a bright smile on her face. Then she saw the shattered glass nearby and looked worried. Maybe you should just call next time. The surprise was nice, but the risk was too high. Leo didn't think it was a big deal. He handed her the breakfast and crouched down to start cleaning up the mess he'd made. The remaining girls on the balconies were stunned to see Chloe actually go to him. But when they saw him cleaning up the glass, it suddenly seemed perfectly natural. Chloe, of course, helped him. Leo, you don't have class today, right? Want to come to class with me? She asked eagerly. But Leo shook his head. I have a lot to do today. I just wanted to remind you to eat breakfast. Chloe's disappointment was visible, but she still agreed. Oh, okay then. Leo saw her crestfallen look and gently tapped her on the nose. There will be plenty of chances later. Then, will you stay with me while I eat? Chloe asked tentatively. Of course. As Chloe ate, she chattered about interesting things that had happened recently. Just being with Leo, even for a simple conversation, made her incredibly happy. Leo, there's trouble at the Mill District. Halfway through, Spike called. Leo could hear the exhaustion in his voice. He probably hadn't slept either. What's wrong? The demolition crew and the residents got into a fight. Leo's brow furrowed. Are any of our people involved in the physical conflict? That was his biggest worry. No, just like you said, the people we planted just got verbally heated. No one got physical. I'll be right there. The Mill District. In the end, that was always going to be the breakthrough point. These last few days, the Hanlon Group's reputation had been dragged through the mud. At a time like this, Leo didn't believe they would dare to risk public outrage by deliberately starting trouble. You should. Go handle your business, Chloe said from beside him. Leo had the same thought, but he just smiled and pointed to his own cheek. Chloe knew exactly what he meant. She glanced around. There were a lot of people, and some were looking their way, though she couldn't tell if they were watching Leo or her. A little embarrassed, she leaned in and gave him a quick, butterfly-like kiss on the cheek. Leo nodded, satisfied. Okay, you go to class. I have to take care of something. Okay. At the Galaxy Gaming Lounge, Spike looked exhausted and full of guilt. Leo, I'm so sorry. He had messed up the one thing Leo had repeatedly emphasized. He was deeply ashamed. Leo didn't say much about it. Let's not talk about that for now. Just keep an eye out. First, tell me what's going on at the Mill District. Where's Kyle? Leo was determined to get the Mill District project. He had done a lot of prep work. The biggest hurdle right now was that some residents still refused to move. The compensation was fair, but what they wanted was to continue doing business in the university town. Leo knew this, which was why he had started building the market. Kyle was the one who called me. It seems like it's gotten really serious. The police, code enforcement, city officials, and the media are all there. As Spike was explaining, Leo's phone rang again. He was surprised to see the caller ID. He gestured for Spike to leave the room. Once he was alone, he answered, "Mr. Oh, what's wrong? The Mill District. Did you arrange this?" He sounded furious. "No." Hearing Leo's denial, Mr. Ho let out a breath of relief. "As long as it's not you. If you have a way, try to help resolve this. The conflict is getting out of hand, and the public opinion is terrible. If it escalates..." Mr. Ho didn't finish. If the situation really blew up, it would be a stain on his record. Leo didn't make any firm promises. He had no idea what the situation was. If he agreed and handled it well, great. But if he failed, it would be a problem. Mr. Ho knew that no matter how savvy Leo was, he was still just a college student. He didn't have high expectations. He had only called to confirm that Leo wasn't behind the chaos. After all, Leo had been coveting this project for a long time. If it was his doing, Mr. Ho would have to reconsider their partnership. Dealing with someone so ruthless was dangerous, especially for a man in his position. Thankfully, Leo said it wasn't him. Although it was just words, he didn't think Leo would lie. They were both smart enough to know that lying was pointless. This kind of thing wouldn't stand up to scrutiny. Just as Mr. Ho was about to hang up, Leo stopped him. "Mr. Ho, there's something I need your help with." Leo hadn't been to the Mill District since the fences went up. The place had changed a lot. Many new, hastily built additions had appeared on the old buildings, all in an attempt to get more compensation money. It was a common sight everywhere. Today, the Mill District was unusually lively. The sound of shouting could be heard from far away. "This is a society of laws. Where do they get the nerve to hit people?" "Officer," we tried to talk to them calmly, but they just started swinging. "I've only ever seen forced demolitions on TV. Are these guys really going to show us one in person?" In the crowd, Kalyan's voice was the loudest. He had slowly become the unofficial leader of the Mill District residents. The police officers looked grim. The crowd was growing, and there were more and more reporters. They knew if this wasn't handled properly today, not only them, but their superiors would be held accountable. The thought gave them a headache. Damn the Hamlin Group. Demolition was already a sensitive topic. Who gave them the courage to resort to violence? Annoyed as they were, they had to maintain a smiling face. Calm down, calm down. Don't worry, they will receive the punishment they deserve." Kyle was about to say more when he saw Leo and Spike arrive. He gave him a subtle look, a silent greeting. His current position as the resident's representative was thanks to Spike's support. Although he knew Leo and Spike were acting in their own self-interest, at least their methods weren't repulsive. And they were genuinely trying to address the residents' demands. Seeing that Leo and Spike weren't speaking, Kyle ignored them for now and continued. "Mr. Wong was beaten so badly he's in the hospital. We at least need their person in charge to come out and give us an explanation. They hit him and then arrogantly said if we don't sign, they'll just hit us again next time. Do they really think we poor people are easy to bully?" Kyle's voice grew more agitated, stirring up the emotions of the other residents. "That's right. Sir, we can't just let this go. Who knows what they'll do next? Before you all arrived, their attitude was disgusting, threatening to kill our families. As soon as you showed up, they left, without even leaving someone to handle this. Is that how you have a proper discussion?" Leo then noticed it was true. Besides the residents, only officials and media were present. Were they really that stupid? Hit someone and then run? Did they think they could get away with it? This was exactly what the official on site was struggling with. He was on the phone, his voice tense. Leo could faintly hear him yelling. "What the hell is wrong with you people? Do you still want this project or not? If you can't do it, give it to someone else. Just tell me, how are you going to handle this now? What? A rogue contractor did it? Bullshit. Only an idiot would believe that. You come down here and say it yourself. See if they believe you. The press is all here. If you can't give a reasonable explanation, do you think they'll leave? I don't care where you are. 20 minutes. Someone better be on site to resolve this." He hung up and immediately put on an eager smile, walking over to Kyle and the others. "My friend, just wait 20 minutes. They're arranging for someone to come over right away. They will definitely give you a satisfactory solution. The Mill District redevelopment is meant to be a project for the people, to solve issues of travel, housing safety, and convenience. The new housing is already being planned. We expect everyone to be able to move into their new homes within 2 years." After a long speech full of good news, Kyle and the others finally quieted down. The official sighed in relief. "Sir, we know this is a good thing," Kyle said, "but there are always bad people who do bad things under the banner of doing good. You might not know, but not long ago, one of our neighbors was tricked into going to an underground casino. He lost over $100,000 and was forced to sign the demolition agreement to pay off the debt. Later we found out that the casino was..." Kyle's voice was loud, and everyone around heard him. The official realized this was bad. He quickly cleared his throat. Ahem, I will have this matter investigated. We can't make baseless accusations. If this were true and became public knowledge, things would get serious. It would be beyond his ability to handle. The reporters, seeing an opening, swarmed in. Hello, I'm a reporter from the Riverbend Chronicle. Could you please elaborate on what you just said about a casino? Suddenly, Kyle was surrounded by microphones. This was a huge story. Kyle had grown a lot recently. He knew this couldn't come from him. He had already said too much. Spike had his own plans, and the official's face had already darkened. Saying more would be pushing his luck. He quickly told the reporters, it's just something I overheard. A report has been filed. We'll just have to wait for the official follow-up. The officials secretly breathed a sigh of relief, even looking at Kyle with a hint of gratitude. After a tense wait, the construction company's people finally arrived just before the deadline. The man in the lead was large and out of breath. He ignored the residents and went straight to the official. Sorry, I was held up. This scene was captured by the media. The official was a seasoned pro. He took a stern step back. I'm not the one you need to apologize to. Everyone is here. So tell us, how do you plan to resolve this? The man wiped the sweat from his forehead. Don't you worry. He then turned to Kyle. You must be young Mr. Yen. We've had a misunderstanding. Look, how about we discuss this privately? Let's have everyone disperse first. Leo watched from a short distance. Hearing the man's words, his expression grew thoughtful. He quietly sent a message to Kyle. Sure enough, this fat guy is no good. If Kyle agreed to a private talk, the residents would surely object. But if he didn't dismiss the crowd, the official would be annoyed. The person in charge is here. He said he'll talk to you. What more do you want? Kyle's phone vibrated. He pulled it out, read the message, and glanced at Leo. Seeing him nod, Kyle turned to the official. This isn't just my problem. It's a problem for the whole Mill District. I can't represent everyone. As expected, the official's face soured, but he couldn't show it. He could only say, with forced patience, then what do you propose we do? Kyle turned to the crowd. The official is here today to help us solve our problems. How about this? We choose 4 or 5 people to represent us and have a proper talk. The rest of you can go home for now. Following Leo's instructions, Kyle tossed the problem back to the crowd. How they chose was their business. No one could blame him. The residents murmured among themselves. Just as they were about to agree, someone ran up to the official and whispered something in his ear. The official's expression grew even more grave. Really? Yes. The video is all over the internet now. The official's news was the fastest, but only by a minute. Soon, the reporters' phones began ringing one after another. After taking their calls, they swarmed the company representative, shoving microphones in his face. Excuse me, are you the person in charge here? A video has just surfaced online showing one of your company's managers discussing how to scam villagers into signing demolition agreements. Were you aware of this? The fat man's face turned ashen. He roared indignantly. Which news outlet are you from? Do you have any idea what you're saying? We at the Hamlin Group are a major corporation. How could we possibly? His phone rang before he could finish. He was fuming and didn't want to answer, but when he saw it was his boss, he accepted the call. You useless fool. You're on site at the Mill District, right? Tell those parasites that we're holding a press conference immediately to explain everything. Now get your ass back here. The man didn't dare utter a peep, just mumbled, yes. When the call ended, he put his phone away. The reporters were waiting. They immediately thrust their microphones at him again. He shot them a look of annoyance. Everyone, we will be holding a press conference shortly. You can ask your questions there. With that, he pushed through the crowd and left, having accomplished nothing. Now Kyle and the residents were furious. One of them blocked his path. You haven't told us how you're going to deal with the assault. The representative's face hardened. Assault? Which one of your eyes saw us assault anyone? Stop making trouble. I gave you an inch and you took a mile. He gave the man a shove. It wasn't a hard push, but the resident immediately fell to the ground. Hey, everyone, come see this. He can't talk his way out of it, so he starts hitting people again. The fat man's face was black with rage. He ignored them and walked away. Sir, do you see this? Is this how they handle things? The man was gone, but the problem wasn't solved. In fact, it was worse. The fat man could leave, but the police and the official couldn't. If they left now and the media reported it, they'd be finished. Just as they were at their wits' end, Leo walked over. He asked Kyle, the one who was hospitalized, was that Mr. Wong, who used to sell barbecue. Kyle was surprised to see Leo approach. He nodded immediately. Yes. Leo sighed. I haven't had his barbecue in so long. I've almost forgotten what it tastes like. I really miss when the food truck row was still here. Leo's words struck a chord with the crowd. That food truck row had been run by the residents of the Mill District themselves. I know, right? Look at it now. Sigh. All we want is simple, just a new place to set up our stalls. But they just won't agree. Hey kid, you're a student here, right? You tell me, we just want to run a small business. Who are we bothering? And our prices were fair, weren't they? Leo nodded emphatically. Absolutely. Once that topic was opened, there was no stopping it. Carl didn't know what Leo was up to, but he wisely kept quiet, occasionally chiming in with a supportive comment. The officials also had to wait patiently. After a long while, Leo finally spoke. I understand what everyone is saying. How about this? You know the market they're building in the university town? As it happens, I'm familiar with the owner. What if I go talk to him and see if everyone can set up their businesses there? The environment is better, and it's close to the school. Leo's suggestion caused another uproar. The market? I've heard of it, but the rent there must be really expensive, right? And I heard you need all sorts of permits to get in. Everyone wants to improve their situation, but their profit margins were thin. High overhead would put them out of business. It wasn't that no one had thought of the market, but after asking about rent at similar places, most of them found the prices unacceptable. Leo's plan was to give them the space for free. But if he just said that, they wouldn't appreciate it. Besides, the project was still in the hands of the Hanlon Group. If he couldn't win it and ended up helping them, he'd be the one losing out. Leo wasn't one to take a loss. Once it was in his hands, everything would be fine. Waiving the rent was nothing he couldn't handle. With that in mind, Leo said, as for the rent, I'll try to negotiate for everyone and see if I can get a discount. The permits aren't a big deal either. You just need a food service license, which is easy to get. The biggest concern for those who hadn't signed was that they wouldn't be able to do business after leaving the university town. Most of them were older and relied on their small businesses for income. Getting into the market would be the best possible outcome. Kid, thank you so much. Please help us with this. If I can really get in, you can eat at my place for free forever. After more chatter, Leo made another suggestion. It's getting late, and the officials have other things to do. Since they said they would give you an answer, they will. And don't you all need to ask about the food permits? You can ask the official for help with that. Although Leo had made a good impression, it was because he hadn't touched their core interests. Now that he brought this up, fortunately, Kyle chimed in. The Hanlon Group people are gone. We'll just be waiting here for nothing. Let's go for now and see how they handle it. As long as we don't sign, they can't tear anything down. They're the ones in a hurry. The official gave Leo a long, meaningful look. He understood perfectly. Leo was giving him a way out. Led by Kyle, the residents finally dispersed. The reporters, seeing that the main event was over, all rushed off to attend the Hanlon Group's press conference. The whole affair reeked of dark dealings. If the accusations were proven true, the Hanlon Group would have no way to defend itself. Once the area had cleared, the official approached Leo, extending his hand. Young man, what's your name? Leo White, a student here. It's a pleasure, sir, Leo replied with a smile. The official laughed. None of that, sir, business. My name is Mr. Lowe. My son is about your age. If you don't mind, you can call me Uncle Lowe. Leo knew this man was from the Housing Bureau. Otherwise, he wouldn't have helped him. He would need his assistance later. He did his best to look honored by the friendly gesture. Uncle Lowe, then I won't stand on ceremony. Mr. Lowe nodded, then glanced at his watch. Seeing that it was getting late, he said, Leo, thank you for today. I still have a pile of work to do, so I'll be going. By the way, what you said about talking to the owner of the market for them, is that true? Mr. Lowe was skeptical. How could a student possibly know the owner of a major project like that? He had personally approved the market, a multi-million-dollar investment. Leo nodded, his eyes crinkling into a smile. My last name is White. Mr. Lowe froze. He thought about it. White. That seemed to be the last name of the market's owner as well. He gave Leo another long look. This young man was completely different from any other college student he'd ever met. He didn't probe further. At least for today, Leo had done him a huge favor. All right then, I'll have to trouble you with that. I'll come to your school and treat you to dinner sometime. Mr. Lowe left without leaving a phone number. Leo didn't ask for one. Sometimes, polite words were just polite words. Perhaps in Mr. Lowe's mind, just being able to call Leo by name was a great show of respect. For an ordinary college student, that might have been true, but Leo was no ordinary student. He wasn't angry. There would be plenty of time. They would have many more dealings in the future. If he didn't give his number this time, he would next time. If not then, there would be no need for a next time. Leo had only said he would try to talk to the residents, not that he guaranteed success. Leo, are we going back to the lounge? Spike asked from beside him. Kyle is already there. Leo looked at the old buildings of the Mill District with a sense of nostalgia. In a big city like this, where skyscrapers shot up from the ground, it was hard to find that old, smoky charm anymore. Let's go. When Leo and Spike arrived at the gaming lounge, Kyle was already waiting. Leo, in front of him, Kyle was as respectful as ever. What happened this morning? Leo asked, getting straight to the point. Kyle pulled out a DV camcorder and handed it to Leo. I don't know if someone left it on purpose or if they just dropped it. Leo took it and turned it on. The video showed the conflict between the demolition crew and Mr. Wong. Not only were they verbally abusive, but they were also ruthless with their hands, all while saying things like, if you don't sign, we have plenty of ways to make you sign. To have such clear evidence preserved, they really weren't planning on leaving the Hamlin group any way out. Who else has seen this? Leo asked. Kyle shook his head. Only me. What do you think we should do with it? Leo fiddled with the camcorder. After a moment, he said, wait, let's see how they try to spin this at their press conference first. Kyle nodded in understanding. He hesitated for a moment, wanting to say something, but unable to get the words out. Leo noticed. If you have something to say, just say it. Kyle gritted his teeth and looked up at Leo. Leo, about the market. Can you really get them in? Spike knew the market belonged to Leo, but he wisely kept his mouth shut. Leo just smiled. I will do my best to fight for it. After a pause, he felt it was necessary to give Kyle a hint. The Hamlin group is going to have a hard time recovering from this. This Mill District redevelopment project. I want to do it. Kyle had already guessed as much. He gave a wry smile. Leo, don't worry. If I hadn't met you in Spike, I'd still be a nobody. I'll definitely help you with this. It's just... Leo knew what he was worried about. At his core, Kyle wasn't a bad person. He was sentimental. So, Leo made a promise. As long as I get this project, the residents of the Mill District will have 5 years of free rent at the market. And after that, they'll only pay half the market rate each year. There were nearly 1,000 households in the Mill District, which was about the capacity of the market. Since many residents didn't run businesses, it could easily accommodate them. Leo hadn't planned on collecting rent for the first 5 years anyway. You needed businesses to attract customers. With customers, the location gained value. He didn't know how much he could make from rent, but it was certainly less than the appreciation of the property value once the area became popular. Kyle's eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, Leo. After Kyle left, Leo planned to leave too. It had been a long morning, and he had promised to go into the city with Sophia in the afternoon. Despite all his preparations and arrangements, he still felt uneasy. Why was he working so hard to make money? Wasn't it to live a better life? And the prerequisite for a better life was that no one could be missing. In your dorm? Come down. Leo called Sophia and got straight to the point. Just as Sophia agreed, she heard someone outside shouting playfully, Hey, handsome, I love your flowers. Can I buy them? Sophia didn't think much of it until she heard Leo's voice yell back, Not for sale. Now, Sophia couldn't sit still. Without even putting on shoes, she ran barefoot to the balcony. Looking down, she saw Leo crouched by a flower bed, holding a bouquet made of beef jerky sticks and bags of chips. The sight made her laugh out loud. Junk food. No wonder someone else wanted it. Silly girl, what are you looking at? Get down here. Leo shouted up when he saw her. Coming. Holly's not even back yet, and you're leaving again. Quinn Ho rolled her eyes. She was the only one left in the suite, an official lonely heart. Sophia stuck her tongue out playfully. Someone has to stay and guard the fort. She waved and headed out the door. Leo had told her he was coming this afternoon, so she was already dressed and ready. Where are we going? Sophia asked, expertly linking her arm through Leo's. To the mall. I need to buy you something for self-defense, Leo said. Sophia couldn't help but laugh. You're serious? Pepper spray? Chili powder? Leo nodded gravely. Yes. He had told Sophia last night that the man was out and had warned her to be careful. He didn't know if she had taken it to heart, so he had to emphasize it again. I can't watch you 24/7. When you're alone, I worry. Sophia loved the feeling of being cared for. She hugged his arm and leaned against him. All right, whatever you say. She had just washed her hair, and up close he could smell the faint, clean scent of her shampoo. Leo leaned down and pressed a kiss to her forehead. Just listen to me. Leo hadn't planned on driving Chloe's Land Rover today. They would just take a taxi. But after waiting at the school gate for a long time, no cab came. Just then, an Audi pulled up in front of them. The window rolled down, and the driver leaned over to greet Sophia. Sophia, you guys heading out? Want a ride? It was clear Sophia hadn't expected this. Her brow furrowed in annoyance, but she still responded politely. Thanks, but no. She leaned closer to Leo, as if to tell him not to get the wrong idea. The guy didn't push it. All right then. He nodded at Leo. My number is in the class group chat. If you ever need anything, feel free to call. Without waiting for a reply, he hit the gas and sped off. After he was gone, Sophia turned to Leo. Do I need to explain? Leo watched the departing Audi, silently memorizing the license plate. Yes. He. Sophia couldn't help but let out a goose-like honk of a laugh, seeing Leo's sour expression. Good. She was afraid he would say no. That's our class president. He's pretty popular and generous. But she trailed off, a playful smile on her face as she waited for him to ask. Leo gently tapped her on the head. But what? Finish your sentence. But he's not as handsome as you. Leo felt his heart skip a beat. Was she hitting on him? When he recovered, he asked her, "You have a lot of great qualities. Do you know which one I like the most?" Sophia blinked, confused but curious. She really wanted to know. After all, Leo was the one saying he liked it. "I like your taste the most. It's truly excellent." Hearing this, Sophia slapped her forehead. It sounded like a compliment, but something felt a little off. "Come on, let's go." A taxi finally passed by. Leo flagged it down and hurried her inside. Usually, trips to the mall were for browsing, buying whatever caught their eye. But this time, Leo had a clear objective. In the future, buying pepper spray would require registration, but in 2004, it was much simpler. If you had the money, you could buy it. Just as Leo was paying, Sophia answered her call. "Quinn, what's wrong?" "Sophia, where are you? Can you come back?" Quinn sounded frantic. "Don't panic," Sophia soothed. "I'm in the city. I'll be back soon." "What happened?" "It's Holly. She..." Quinn could barely speak. Sophia didn't rush her. After a few garbled sentences, she finally pieced it together. "Holly. She smells like alcohol. She came back and just started crying. She won't tell me what's wrong. She went into the bed and locked the door. She's been in there for an hour and isn't answering me." Sophia's brow furrowed. "Call the RA first. See if you can get the door open. I'm on my way back." She thought of something else. "And don't tell anyone about this." Holly hadn't come back last night. She had left with Connor. They were adults. It wasn't hard to guess what happened. But for her to come back crying, it made one's mind race. Heartbreaker? Playboy? Was she used and discarded? Sophia took a deep breath and shook her head. Speculating now was pointless. The most important thing was to get back and keep an eye on Holly. They had lived together for so long, and Sophia knew her personality. She seemed cheerful and outgoing, but she was very sensitive. She was the type to get stuck in her own head and do something foolish. Leo didn't know what had happened, but seeing Sophia's expression, he said, "Let's go. I'll take you back." Sophia nodded, giving Leo a complicated look that he couldn't quite decipher. "Let's go," she said, walking quickly toward the exit. As they walked, she explained, "I want to find you guys with Holly last night. She didn't come back to the dorm." Leo already knew that, so he wasn't surprised. "Okay, what's wrong?" Sophia sighed. "She's locked herself in the bathroom now. Quinn says she's not responding." Now Leo finally understood her earlier look. It was easy for girls to feel empathy for one another in these situations. Without a second thought, he pulled out his phone and called Connor. He didn't get specific, just asked, "Connor, where are you now?" Connor was surprised to get a call from Leo at this time. "You know what's going on with the Hanlon Group? I'm at my dad's office, helping him deal with all the business connected to them." "What's up, Leo?" Leo chuckled. "Oh, nothing much. Holly just called Sophia back to the dorm for drinks. I was just wondering what happened. Last night, you guys..." After Leo spoke, there was a long silence on the other end. After a moment, he heard Connor let out a heavy sigh. "She broke up with me today." Leo was stunned. He asked, incredulously, "She broke up with you?" Leo had seen plenty of guys who'd hit it and quit it. He'd never heard of a girl doing it. After a moment of thought, he lowered his voice and asked Connor, "Is there a problem? You know, with your performance?" Given that the two of them were clearly into each other, Leo couldn't think of any other reason. The moment the words left his mouth, he felt Sophia jab him with her elbow. She'd been listening in. On the other end of the line, Connor, who had just taken a sip of water, coughed it out in a spray. He hacked for what felt like a full minute before he could finally speak. "Leo, where the hell are you?" he choked out. "I'll come over right now and show you if there's a problem with my performance." No man could take that kind of accusation. "Then what is it?" Leo asked, his voice laced with suspicion. Connor took a deep breath. "It's complicated." He paused. "Let me put it this way. If you're just from some ordinary family, do you think Chloe's dad would ever let you two be together?" Connor didn't know the full story behind Leo, but all the signs pointed to him being from a powerful family. He was young, had already built a business worth tens of millions, and had connections everywhere. He'd said the Hanlon Group was going down, and, suddenly, it was in trouble. Even Connor's own father treated Leo with a kind of reverent respect. This wasn't some kid from a normal background. But Leo just said, "My family is really ordinary." He thought for a second. Upper middle class at best. Connor went silent. After a beat, he asked, "Are you serious?" "Yeah," Leo said, his tone firm. "Everything I have now, I built myself." He added, Let me give you a piece of advice. It's always a bad idea to underestimate the young and hungry. A long pause stretched over the line. Forget her family for a second, Leo pressed. What do you think of her? I love her, Connor said without a second of hesitation. I've met a lot of girls who are prettier than her, but she's the only one who makes me feel this way. Then that's it, Leo said, his voice sharp and decisive. So what are you so afraid of? Connor thought it over. I get it, he said, his voice now steady and serious. Thanks, Leo. After Connor hung up, Leo turned to Sophia. You've already pushed me into the planter box. Are you going to keep crowding me? While he'd been on the phone, she had been inching closer and closer to eavesdrop. Sophia stuck her tongue out and instantly jumped back, creating some distance between them. Then she looked at him, her expression turning serious. Leo, do you think one day you'll say to me? She stopped, trailing off. Will you break up with me? She wanted to ask, but then she remembered. They'd never even said they were together. How could they break up? Leo saw the look on her face and knew exactly what she was thinking. He quickly changed the subject. I'll say I love you. I'll always love you. A small smile touched Sophia's lips. She looked up, meeting his eyes, and then, to Leo's complete astonishment, right there in public, she leaned in and kissed him. That's enough, she whispered against his lips. I love you too. I really, really do. This was the first time Sophia had ever said it to his face. Yeah, love was enough. Why complicate it? Okay, let's go, she said, pulling back. We should head back. I wonder how Holly is doing. Leo couldn't offer much advice on other people's love lives. In his past life, he'd been a loner, his nights of wine and women nothing more than business obligations. This life wasn't much different. If it weren't for Holly being Sophia's roommate and friend, he wouldn't have gotten involved at all. After dropping Sophia off at campus, Leo left. His mind was now on the Hanlon Group's press conference. The video's contents are false. The people in the footage are not employees of the Hanlon Group. Our corporation has already initiated legal proceedings regarding this matter and will pursue it to the fullest extent of the law. The excuses were always so self-righteous and predictable. Leo didn't have to guess. They were just finding ways to whitewash the situation. He refused to believe Ethan Jiang didn't have another move to make. The protest at the Mill District this morning was just the opening act. Leo didn't ask. This was a battle between titans, and for now, he was in no position to interfere. All he had to do was wait patiently to pick up the spoils. If Ethan won, Leo's assets would expand. If Ethan lost, that was even better. He'd no longer have the power to stand between Leo and Chloe. At worst, after Ethan went bankrupt, Leo could offer him an executive position out of respect for him being Chloe's father. For the next little while, Leo split his time between waiting for news from Spike and working with Kyle Yin to negotiate with the Mill District residents about the new market. As things stood, the fate of the Hanlon Group's other projects was uncertain, but this one was definitely dead in the water. Boss, when do you have a minute to come by? On Friday afternoon, while Leo was sitting in on one of Chloe's classes, he got a call from Laureen. She wouldn't call unless it was important. I'm on my way, he replied, and hung up. Chloe, sitting right next to him, astutely tossed him her car keys. Come back soon. If you can, I'd like to have dinner with you tonight. Leo stroked her hair and nodded. Of course. When Leo arrived at Laura's office, it was empty. Her young assistant poured him a cup of tea. Mr. White, if you could just wait a moment. Ms. Ian is in a meeting. She'll be right here. Leo nodded. Just as the assistant left, and he lifted his cup, he heard the frantic clicking of high heels approaching. The sound could be so abrasive sometimes. Laura swept into the room, closing the door behind her. Boss, look at this. She handed him a newspaper. Leo took it, and as he read, his brow furrowed. Rush sportswear quality in question. An in-depth expose of hidden sweatshop. Behind a high price tag, a shocking lack of conscience. Can a national brand emerge from an obsolete workshop? Seeing his expression, Laura looked troubled. This might be my fault, she said. How so? Leo asked. Laura sighed heavily. Do you remember that cousin of Chloe's from the Hanlon Group? When Leo nodded, she continued. They have the resources to get us a sponsorship deal with a national sports channel. I met with him twice about it, but I quickly realized he had other intentions. I tried to cut off contact. That's when all the negative posts about Rush started appearing online. He even used it to threaten me. Leo knew how hard Laura worked, not just managing Rush's business, but also helping him with his other projects. He was already squeezing every productivity out of her. He certainly wasn't going to blame her for this, especially since he was the one who had given Julian her card in the first place. Laura, you've worked hard, he said, his voice reassuring. Just then, her phone rang. The moment she saw the caller ID, Her face darkened. Leo noticed and leaned over to look. Is that him? The cousin. Laura nodded. Leo reached over, tapped the answer button, and hit speaker. Did you see the paper? A smug voice oozed from the phone. I only printed one copy today. Have dinner with me tonight. Otherwise, tomorrow, it'll be all over the city. Before Laura could even speak, Leo cut in. Are you a complete idiot? Who the hell do you think you are? He spat. You have a guts? Then print it. The man on the other end sputtered. You. Who is this? Take a guess, Leo said with a smirk, then hung up. Some people were just determined to dig their own graves. Laura gave a bitter laugh. Boss, maybe you should just give me a long vacation. Leo pretended to clean out his ear, then looked at her as if he hadn't heard correctly. What's that, Laura? You're saying you're not busy enough? You want to take on more work? He beamed. That's great to hear. How are the talks for the campus bike-sharing program going? And has the second phase of the market project been finalized? Looking at Leo's completely shameless expression, Laura felt a wave of helplessness. A moment ago, her heart had been aching, but now, inexplicably, the feeling was gone. Maybe this was what trust felt like. But God, she was so tired. Boss, if this gets widely reported, it could trigger a massive PR crisis for Rush, Laura said, watching Leo, who remained infuriatingly calm. She was starting to feel anxious for him. Rush had grown so fast, snatching up a huge chunk of the domestic sportswear market in just a few months. They were already a thorn in the side of their competitors. The online chatter had been constant, but it was all minor stuff controllable. If a story about a faulty production line and poor quality broke, it would be a disaster. And the worst part was, it seemed to be true. The factory in question was one Leo himself had recommended. Its equipment was outdated, and its productivity was low. Laura hadn't personally looked into the quality, but she'd heard from the inspection team that the pass rate wasn't great. So what's the alternative? Leo spread his hands, looking at her. You really want to give in and have dinner with him tonight? At his words, Laura visibly flinched. She knew all too well what the man was really after. Relax, Laura, Leo continued. I've told you before. Rush is not the kind of company that sacrifices its employees for profit. Laura knew how important Rush was to Leo. Seeing him act this way, she assumed he was just trying to comfort her. If Leo knew what she was thinking, he would have laughed his head off. His plan was simple. The garment factory had been donated to an orphanage years ago. Teach a man to fish and all that. At the time, it had significantly improved the orphanage's financial situation. But now, the old equipment couldn't keep up. If it weren't for Rush, the factory would have already gone under. It had plenty of problems, but the benefits it brought Leo were far greater. Of all the places for his enemy to attack, he had to pick this one. Worried that Laura was overthinking it, Leo offered an explanation. Don't worry, Laura. This whole thing will end up being a net positive for us. Leo knew the power of a good narrative, especially one with a dramatic reversal. So you want to expose my shoddy production facility and questionable quality? Fine. He would leak a counterstory. This was a charity initiative to provide jobs for the parentless kids who grew up in that orphanage. Rush would buy every single piece they produced. The items that passed inspection would go to market. The ones that didn't, they would absorb internally. And if before the story turned, people started digging into who donated the factory, what year it was donated, and which children entered the orphanage that same year, well, that wouldn't be so bad either. Like he said, some people were just determined to dig their own graves. Still, he felt he should give someone a heads up. Laura, I'm thirsty. Could you run downstairs and grab me a coffee? Laura, lost in thought, was snapped back to reality. Of course. Normally, if Leo needed something, he'd tell her, and she'd have someone else run the errand. This time, he was asking her to go personally. It was obvious he wanted to get her out of the room. She didn't mind. She left without a word. Once she was gone, Leo made a call. Mister. Oh, there's something I think you should know. When Laura returned to the office, Leo was already gone. A note was sitting on her desk. You can have the coffee. It's okay for your body to be tired. You're working hard for the company, after all. But don't let your heart get tired. Laura chuckled, shaking her head as she tucked the note into her drawer. Leo was truly an enigma. The next morning, Leo went to a newsstand early. He flipped through paper after paper, but found nothing about Rush. What a shame, he muttered with a sigh. It would have been perfect if the story had been published. Some things were clumsy when you did them yourself, but they were brilliant when you let your enemies do them for you. His disappointment didn't last long. His eyes caught another notice. Request for bids. The University City Mill District Redevelopment Project. In 2004, many official bids had to be published in designated newspapers. This project was no exception. Feeling a surge of excitement, he decided to call Chloe. Sophia was out with Holly and the others, so she was unavailable. But at least there was Chloe. The weather's beautiful today. Want to come out and play? Chloe was still sound asleep, her eyes barely able to open. She fumbled for her phone and answered, hearing Leo's voice on the other end. Want to sleep? She mumbled, her voice thick and lazy. Don't care, just want to sleep. She sounded like a child throwing a small tantrum, a whiny, pouting tone that was irresistibly cute. Okay, Leo teased. How about we find a different place and sleep together? Chloe shot up in bed, her face flushing red. No, absolutely not, she refused, shaking her head. You wouldn't behave. Leo didn't argue. He could tell she was awake now. So, are you coming out? If you are, I'll wait for you downstairs. He added, if not, I'm just going to go to the gaming lounge. Without a moment's hesitation, Chloe replied, 10 minutes. And could you bring me some of that pumpkin spice oatmeal? You got it. When Chloe said 10 minutes, she meant 10 minutes. She was a natural beauty and didn't need makeup, which saved a lot of time. By the time Leo bought the breakfast and got to the girls' dorm, she was already standing there, a vision of loveliness. The weather in Washington was getting colder. Chloe was bundled up in a heavy coat, hiding everything but her pretty face. There was less and less to look at. Summer was definitely better, Leo lamented internally. Chloe walked up to him, her eyes curving into crescents as she smiled. So, where are you taking me? Leo thought for a moment. The apartment is almost done being renovated. We could go check it out. He gave her a sly look. It should be ready to move into by next semester. We could live together. Chloe looked at him, and there was an unmistakable hint of sleaze in his gaze, but somehow it wasn't off-putting. She knew she should refuse, but the word no wouldn't come out. She could only look down and fidget with her fingers. Leo clicked his tongue. Fine, don't move in with me. See if I care. And here I was, planning on saving a room for you. Chloe looked up, her expression timid. Well, I guess it wouldn't be impossible. Leo looked into her eyes, sensing something odd he couldn't quite place. But as long as she agreed, it was a win. He pressed his advantage. Let's go. We'll go check it out. And if we have time this afternoon, we can go pick out furniture and appliances. Leo hadn't been to the apartment near campus much since he'd bought it, leaving it entirely in the hands of the renovation company. It was right next to Sophia's place, handled by the same firm. Leo's instruction had been simple: knock a hole in the wall between them. He claimed it was to make visiting more convenient. Only he knew the real reason. Oh, looks like this place is being renovated too, he commented as they arrived. It wasn't just his and Sophia's units that were under construction. The one next door was as well. He didn't think much of it and unlocked his door. It was the weekend, so no construction was allowed. The apartment was empty. So, what do you think? Leo asked Chloe, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind as they stood before the massive floor-to-ceiling window. It's not your family's mansion, but it's not a bad place to crash during college, right? From this angle, you could see the entire university campus. In 2004, there weren't many tall buildings in the area, so the view was wide open. When he embraced her, Chloe's body tensed for a second before she relaxed, turning to wrap her arms around his neck. It's not bad at all, she said, her expression complicated. But, what's with that door? She pointed to the doorway that now connected his apartment to the one next door. Leo blinked. It was a buy-one-get-one free deal. Would you believe me? Fearing she might not understand, he added, I bought one apartment, and they threw in another one for free. Hearing his ridiculous lie, Chloe couldn't help but laugh out loud. Sure, I believe you. Her eyes sparkled with mischief. But, is it possible it was a buy-one-get-two free deal? She pulled a key from her pocket and dangled it in front of his face. Come on, I'll show you the other one they gave you. She emphasized the word gave loudly. A few dark lines appeared on Leo's forehead. A 3-bedroom could be converted into a 1-bedroom master suite. But 3 whole apartments? How was he supposed to manage that? Seeing his expression, Chloe laughed triumphantly. Without waiting for his response, she grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the other adjacent apartment. She even called the renovation company right in front of him. Hi, is it possible for you to come by today? After hanging up, she turned back to Leo. So, where do you think we should put the door? Leo threw up his hands. Who said I agreed to a door? Chloe grabbed his arm, swinging it back and forth playfully. Please. Fine. Leo finally gave in. But he added a condition. This door can't have a deadbolt. It has to be openable from both sides. Chloe blinked, then tilted her head up and gave him a soft peck on the lips. A sly smile played on her face. Then you have to promise not to come visiting in the middle of the night. Ahem. Leo cleared his throat. If I come over uninvited, I'm a dog, he declared righteously. Chloe's face lit up. Then it's a deal. Woof, woof, woof. Chloe stared at him, dumbfounded. What did you just say? Leo turned his head to the side. Did you hear me say something just now? Seeing him play dumb, Chloe could only pout. He was such a rogue, but he was the rogue she liked. So what could she do? The contractor arrived quickly, an eager smile on his face. Hello. Hello. Sorry to keep you waiting, he said to Chloe. Is there a problem with the renovation? No problems. I'm very satisfied with everything, Chloe said. Leo noticed the man visibly relax. Then Chloe pointed to the wall that connected her new apartment to Leo's. Can you put a door here? The contractor looked troubled. Well, that's someone else's apartment. He's not just someone, Chloe said, nudging Leo with her elbow, prompting him to explain. The contractor looked confused. Leo sighed. Go ahead and do it. That one's mine. We can go down to the property management office together later to show them proof and let them know. The contractor nodded eagerly. Okay, no problem then. After sorting things out, Leo and Chloe got into the Land Rover. The original plan had been to go look at furniture, but the moment they got in the car, Jeong called. Is Chloe with you? Ethan asked, getting straight to the point before Leo could even say hello. Leo glanced at her. Yes. Find a place where she can't hear you. Leo understood. He covered the receiver and gently pinched Chloe's cheek. I need to use the restroom. Wait for me for a minute. Chloe wasn't an idiot. She knew something was up. She just nodded. Come back soon. Leo got out of the car and found a deserted corner. Mr. Jeong, go ahead. Chloe's uncle recently secured the distribution rights for Kappa, Ethan said. That project is worth over $10 million. Leo already knew. It was the reason he had targeted Uncle Carl in the first place. Leo had been looking for an opportunity to deal with it, but had held off, remembering he was Chloe's uncle. But holding off didn't mean letting it go. He'd even mentioned it to Ethan before. Mr. Jeong, what are you getting at? I assume Rush Sportswear isn't keen on another sports brand entering the market and stealing your share, right? Leo smiled. Ethan was the real old fox. Just tell me what you want me to do. Besides that project, he's taken on several others, totaling around 20 to 30 million, Ethan said. A while back, I was tricked into taking on a Badland deal. I lost about 30 million on it. Leo's heart skipped a beat. He thought he understood. So, you're planning to get it back from him? He asked tentatively. Ethan didn't bother denying it. Yes, because the reason I lost so much money is thanks to his help. He spat out the last word, his voice seething with rage. He was clearly furious. What can I do to help? Leo asked, a bit confused. I know you have your own network in the Pacific Northwest. I won't ask how. He's planning to come to the region. The Kappa factory site will likely be located there. His other projects are going to run into funding problems, more or less. If his factory here also runs into an accident, and he can't complete construction according to the contract. Ethan didn't finish the sentence. I understand, Leo replied. Don't worry. Ethan nodded, satisfied. Chloe can't know about this, he added. You don't have to tell me. I get it. After hanging up with Ethan, Leo got back in the car. Chloe put her phone down when she saw him. Leo put his arm around her shoulder. Is it okay if I hug you? Chloe stiffened for a moment. Then, without a word, she leaned into his embrace. Holding her felt so good. Leo buried his face in her hair and took a deep breath. This was perfect. Leo, I've got news. Leo was in Spike's office, discussing the bid for the Mill District redevelopment project with him and Kyle Yin, when he got a call from Connor's son. Connor had been swamped lately, juggling his own relationship drama while also helping his father's company settle its accounts with the Hamlin Group. The fact that he still remembered to do this for Leo was, in Leo's opinion, a testament to his character. Go on. The guy you wanted me to keep an eye on. He arrived in Riverbend today. He's at an inn right now. At those words, Leo shot to his feet. Which inn? Spike and Kyle, who were sitting beside him, were startled by his sudden movement, but knew better than to interrupt. They waited until Leo hung up the phone. Leo, Spike asked. Leo didn't have time to respond. He sat back down, grabbed a pen and paper, and scribbled down the address from the text message. He handed the paper to Spike. Justin Zhang is in town. He's here. The moment Spike heard the name, he snatched the paper. Leo, there won't be any mistakes this time. He had been beating himself up over that incident for a long time. Leo thought for a moment, then gave him Connor's number. If you need any help, you can contact him. Leo trusted Spike completely, but he couldn't say the same for Connor yet. If not for the sake of having a backup, he wouldn't have let Connor in on this at all. It was a messy business. Spike seemed to understand Leo's hesitation. He nodded and left the office immediately. Now it was just Kyle and Leo. Kyle started, looking like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Leo knew exactly what he was thinking. He handed Kyle a cigarette and even lit it for him. You want to ask if I can get you a position at the construction company, right? Kyle looked flattered as Leo lit his cigarette. Hearing his own thoughts spoken aloud, he nodded eagerly. Yeah, he said, looking embarrassed. I want to make something of myself. But Leo shook his head, refusing him outright. Though Kyle had expected this answer, a flicker of disappointment crossed his face. It didn't last long, however, because Leo continued speaking. If I win the bid, and you, the guy who helped me persuade the residents, immediately turn around and get a job at my company, what do you think those residents are going to think? Won't they feel like we're a nest of vipers? That everything you did was just for personal gain? Kyle froze, looking up at Leo, his eyes filled with a dawning horror. I wouldn't. Leo walked over and clapped him on the shoulder. I know you wouldn't, but they don't. And if you try to explain, do you really think they'll believe you? Kyle fell silent, staring into space. He took a few hard drags from his cigarette. Thanks, Leo. I get it, he said slowly, his voice laced with dejection. Kyle wasn't a bad person at his core. He'd just grown up in the Mill District and had a bit of a hustler's edge to him. You can't work at the construction company, Leo said. But are you interested in the market? Before Kyle could answer, he added, you'd start as a regular manager. Work and learn at the same time. There are plenty of jobs that need filling, but you need real skills to do them. With that, Leo left Spike's office. As he opened the door, he thought he heard Kyle whisper a thank you. He paused for a fraction of a second, then closed the door behind him. He felt more and more like a con man, he thought, one who was just exceptionally good at tricking people into working for him. The Mill District was a mixed bag of people. Business would be the same. Once all the vendors moved into the market, disputes were inevitable. Having someone they knew and trusted managing the place would be much more effective. At the very least, when conflicts arose, there would be someone who could mediate. After leaving Spike's, Leo didn't go back to campus. He wandered aimlessly through the university town, organizing his thoughts. The situation with Sophia seemed to be under control. With Connor and Spike keeping an eye on things, there shouldn't be any more surprises from that front. The bid for the Mill District redevelopment was in a couple of days. He'd already made all the necessary arrangements. He had set up a new investment firm, which had then taken out a $20 million loan from Rush Sportswear. With that capital, he'd acquired a controlling stake in a construction company, and he would use that company to submit the bid. It was the same firm that was building the market, a solid company recommended by Ethan Jiang. The only reason Leo had gotten it for such a low price was because Ethan had pulled strings behind the scenes. It hadn't come cheap for Ethan either. His only condition was that Leo had to sabotage Uncle Carl's Kappa deal. Now, Leo's three companies, Rush, the investment firm, and the construction company, were all independent entities, connected only by debt. If one went down, the other two wouldn't be affected. If Rush ever went bankrupt, the $20 million loan, according to the contract, wouldn't have to be repaid for 10 years. It was like a lease agreement that remained valid, even if the property was sold at auction. That was why, in the future, so many foreclosed properties with existing tenants were impossible to sell, no matter how low the price. Construction on the market was progressing. The main structure of the first phase was complete. You could already see what it was going to look like. On a nearby lawn, Leo sat cross-legged by himself. The grassy area was dotted with students, all out enjoying the sun. Hey, handsome, all alone. He hadn't been sitting for long when a girl approached him with a cheerful greeting. She was smiling, completely devoid of shyness. When Leo didn't respond, she simply sat down next to him. I saw you from across the lawn and knew it had to be fate. Can I get your IM screen name? Leo quickly glanced around. Sure enough, a group of people nearby were watching them and laughing. Lost a game, huh? This is the dare. Caught. The girl didn't show the slightest hint of embarrassment. Couldn't it be the truth? She retorted. Leo adopted a serious expression. I take things like this very seriously. If you say that, I might just believe you. Seeing that he wasn't joking, the girl quickly backtracked. Okay, it's a dare. She waved her hands apologetically. Sorry. If you don't give it to me, I have to do a punishment. Can you help a girl out? Truth or dare? Where the loser has to get a stranger's contact info. Who knows how many couples had gotten their start with that game? Well, Mr. White. Taking it easy, are we? Just as Leo was giving the girl his screen name, a familiar voice drifted over. He looked up. It was Sophia. He didn't bother to stand, just patted the grass beside him. Sophia, my beautiful friend, why don't you have a seat? A small smile played on Sophia's lips. Am I interrupting? Leo spread his hands. Not at all. I don't mind sharing. Sophia knew how shameless Leo could be. She ignored his comment and continued. You might not mind, but what if she does? The girl who'd asked for his screen name instantly flushed with embarrassment. I'm so sorry, this was just a game. I didn't know. She was so flustered she could barely speak. No matter how outgoing someone was, getting caught in a situation like this would make anyone want to dig a hole and crawl into it. You two talk, you two talk. I'm leaving. She scurried away. You're quite the ladies' man, aren't you? Sophia teased as she sat down next to him. She knew it was just a joke. If Chloe had been here, the jealousy would have been palpable. But this was Sophia. The old Sophia might have said nothing at all. The new Sophia, however, was learning to dish out a little sarcasm of her own. Whether I have good luck with the ladies depends on you, doesn't it? Leo said, casually draping his arm around her shoulders. Sophia blinked, her eyes full of playful mischief. She leaned her head against his shoulder. Oh, I'll give it to you, she said softly. Just as Leo's heart leaped with joy, she added, I'll give you a smack on the head. With that, she pushed his arm off her shoulder. Did you call me over just to watch you get hit on by other girls? Leo nodded with perfect seriousness. I did. You know the phrase, hot commodity, right? If you don't make a move soon, I'll be gone. Sophia wrapped her arms around his neck. So, you're saying it's not too late to make my move? With the Justin John situation being handled, a weight had been lifted from Leo's shoulders. He was in a great mood, which was why he called Sophia out in the first place. He certainly didn't mind taking advantage of the moment. First, call me darling. Let me hear how it sounds. If I like it, then it's not too late. Sophia froze for a second. Just as Leo thought she was going to refuse, she leaned in and pressed her lips to his ear. Darling. Her voice was clear and sweet, filled with an indescribable tenderness. After she said it, her cheeks burned, but she didn't pull away. She remained nestled against him. Leo simply spread his hands. My dear Sophia, I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you say it again? Sophia hugged him tighter, burying her face in his neck. I can say it as many times as you want, darling. Leo's mood, already good, soared. But then Sophia asked, Darling, could you first explain how your apartment suddenly grew an extra door? Leo froze. He took a deep breath. Buy one, get one free. Sophia burst out laughing. You must have some serious connections. Hearing the amusement in her voice, Leo breathed a sigh of relief. As long as she wasn't angry. Okay, Sophia said, pulling back. I have to go to my next class. If I skip it, I'll definitely fail. Walk me back. She had been in class before he called. When Leo didn't answer, she suggested, or you could come with me? Oh, in that case, maybe you shouldn't come. Sophia said. Leo was good at taking advice. Since she said not to go, he wouldn't. He watched her walk back toward the academic buildings. Just as he was about to call Spike and ask how things went, his phone rang. It was Spike. His voice was urgent. Leo, is Sophia with you?